Hello, welcome. Hope you guys can hear me. Hope you guys can see me. Hopefully this is the right audio. I checked before I started the stream. I'm going to check it one more time before I should get started. Oh, let me put the echo off. There's some people doing stuff outside. I want you guys to hear that. Okay, we are good. Before we get started with the content, a couple of things you guys should know. First of all, last week someone asked me, I think it was Ryan, to watch the Lelouch versus Light videos. There were two. There was the Lelouch versus Light Shonen Showdown, and then there was the Otaku Battle Dome. I watched both videos last week, so I'm going to talk about those real briefly. The Lelouch versus Light Shonen Showdown was definitely the worst of the two by a long shot. I actually really like the challenge Shonen Showdown. Rob's really good, but intelligent, I should say, and knowledgeable too. But I think when it comes to Code Geass and Death Note, and again, I could be totally wrong here. I actually like to talk to the guy about this in the future, but it seemed like it wasn't his area of expertise, him or the guy he works with, because they were just saying stuff that was clearly wrong. If you want my thoughts, by the way, I left a comment on the video that goes through like areas I liked, areas I didn't like, because it just seemed like there were a lot of incorrect statements made, false statements. It could be maybe, it was one of the earlier videos too, so they were still kind of like figuring stuff out. But I noticed there were quite a few errors. I know when we talked about One Piece or My Hero Academia or even Dragon Ball, he's way more versed in those universes. It seemed like Code Geass and Death Note, he was not. And that's not really his fault either, in a sense, because, those animes in particular they're kind of complicated, so you can't just kind of casually watch them and get a sense of what's going on. You have to actually really spend your time to figure it out how it works. So, it's one of those things where I get why there could be some issues not understanding those series, so I totally get it. So there's that. With the Otaku Battle Dome, 1 second here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to leave a little comment. Okay. So with the Otaku Battle Dome, it was very funny. That was a very funny video. I think Ryan said I'm going to laugh a lot. I did. It was super hilarious. And I think it was not fair. I mean, obviously it's a Code Geass mostly based channel, although I'm going to be doing oops, gotta be careful here. Even though I do mostly Code Geass stuff, I'm pretty knowledgeable in our animes, and I like to eventually broaden that in the future. But the point I make with that is that King of Lightning, I think, did a better job at saying why Light would actually win a battle against Lelouch. The problem with the people who were supporting Lelouch is they focused more on his accomplishments rather than the actual fight itself. I did a whole live stream about this. I'm not going to rehash stuff, but I felt like the biggest thing that the King of Lightning, I think, did a better job explaining was that Light was more of a shadows guy. He hid behind the Death Note, and he had to be there in person to kill Lelouch, versus Lelouch, who is not a public. They said he was a public figure, and when King Lightning was saying that, he meant that Lelouch as Zero was a public figure. He was out there in the open. Basically, Light could find him, but Lelouch could never find Light. They were all saying like Lelouch would figure it out, but they never said how he'd figure it out. And that's really the question that, as someone who likes both series, I would like to know, how would Lelouch figure out that Light was Kira killing people? I agree with the people on Lelouch's side that he would figure out someone's killing people of importance, his own targets, but how would he know if it was Light? And that's something they didn't really argue. Well, they also got some stuff wrong too. For example, they said, what was it? Lelouch's Geass can go through, was it screens? Which it can't do that. It can't go through screens. That whole scene when he tells the roller to obey him, that was figuratively. He wasn't literally telling him to obey him with the Geass power. So they got that part wrong. But the rest of the video was really funny. I just think it was not fair of King of Lightning, who was by way on Light's side, because it didn't make that obvious. He should have done a better job, or they should let him talk more, because he had really good points, but he kept getting they kept talking over him, which was a little frustrating. But other than that, I thought the video was very funny, though. I mean, it was a bunch of passionate anime fans hashing it out, and at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. So I definitely enjoyed the video. Thanks for the recommendation. Although, between two, Taco Bell was definitely the better one. Another thing, too, this is like a surprise nobody. Janissary Code was delayed again. It's coming out next week for, I think, more polish, of course, because they've never been delayed before. So we'll see how that goes. I wanted to get my hands on it and try to get it working to play in the stream, but I'll have to wait another week before we start messing with that. That's kind of what's going on with that stuff. All right. So now that we have gone through that, let's talk about what's going on for this stream and probably several for the next, I don't know, months, I would imagine, because we're going to try to do 3 episodes of Code Geass of each series, so R1 and R2. I then want to do Aki Till the Exiled, the films, Resurrection. I know it's a lot of stuff. My hope is that eventually ZDR Capture will come out some point in the middle of this live stream series. I'm hoping. If you do the math, I mean, let's say I do 3 a week. There's 20 episodes. So, well, there's more than 20. There's 25 episodes. Just making the math, easier on myself. So it's like 6-7 weeks, right? That's like 2 months. That's for one series. Next one will be another 7 weeks. So that's 4 months. And you know what? Never mind. They could still not be ready in 4 months. All right. Well, we'll see where it goes. If worse comes to worse, we can always jump to our anime. I would like to do that as well. I know this is a Code Geass focus channel, but there is a reason why I have these back here, because Monster is also pretty darn good. So that's the plan. We're going to go through R1 first. Obviously. Episode 1 first. Read some comments real quick, and then we'll just get into it. Oh, good. I'm glad you're doing well, Nano Manor. Thanks for stopping by. Bilal. Yes, this is going to be a fun one. Like how you're reviewing the first 3 episodes of Clovis Trilogy. I didn't know it was called the Clovis Trilogy, but yeah, that is true, because he does the Clovis Trilogy. Well done. I'm actually going to show that one. Someone else recommended Light versus Lelouch in the Shonen Showdown. Hold on. Why are they showing the new count? There we go. Anyways, someone else recommended Lelouch versus Light Shonen Showdown, but not me, but I still watched it. I thought it was all right. Yeah, exactly. It was all right. It was... The problem is they were talking about stuff that I was so confused about. Like, does anyone ever discuss how Lelouch and Light did with their memories erased? I don't think anyone ever mentions that when it comes to comparing the characters. Usually people talk about their intelligence, like I did in a recent video, or their abilities. They didn't really, no one talks about their mind, how they did with their minds erased. That's a complete unknown. You don't know how you're going to react if you lose part of your memories. At least with Lelouch's case, when he used the Geass on himself, it was such a small period of time and such a small period of memory, a small amount of memory, that he shouldn't change radically from that. But Light literally got rid of all of his memories from the Death Note. That was months of time and a whole personality. And he went back to being more of a detective hero type of character. So it's really hard to compare how you would react in those situations. It also didn't bring up Ryuk or C2. At least the Otaku Battle Dome did. That was a very important point, because those 2 characters are huge in this confrontation, either working with the protagonists or against them. Either way, they're very important. Okay, I wonder if people thought that Clovis would be the one main villain when they first started watching it. If so, they must have been shocked when they saw episode 3. Yeah, Clovis, main villain. No, I don't think so, because D-Tart's in the first episode, like, this guy's a sham. The whole thing's a sham. So probably not, but it's true. It would be kind of funny. They kept saying, "Oh, I'd definitely like to see her talk about Monster." Yeah, I want to do it. It's going to happen someday. It's like I got the skeleton beat. Still waiting for the Monster reviews. They kept saying Lucia's smarter than L. Yeah, see, that's the thing. I concluded that as well, but I really doubt they went through that analysis. And I also mentioned in my video on intelligence, it really depends on a lot of your opinion on the matter in terms of how you value intelligence, which is greater than what, in terms of the different types. If you even follow that perspective, because there's different definitions of intelligence. And I noticed in the other one, in Taco Battle Dome, they did the same thing too. They were like, Lelouch has like, his intelligence is like a power ability. It scales and stuff, even though Light's pretty smart too. Yeah, they kept saying that. They didn't really explain why. But they're not wrong, at least from how I did the analysis. That's a good point, though. Before I saw episode 1, I had no idea what to expect at first. I wasn't sure what to think, but I quickly fell in love with the series, or with the show. Yep, agreed. They kept saying and talking about their achievements, saying Lelouch was under more pressure, and won while they said Light lost to a 12-year-old. That was the Taco Battle Dome, yeah. Well, you know what? Light also was a lot of pressure too. I mean, he had to figure a way to defeat Naomi in like 10 minutes, so it wasn't like Light was never under pressure. And you know what? Nier is a prodigy. Okay, so I wouldn't be so hard on the fact that Light lost to him. And the main point about that, and we'll get into Code Geass in a second here, but the main thing about that is that he beat himself. He would have beaten Nier if he just acted the way he did when he was fighting against L, but he was cocky, arrogant, and well, we know how that ended up for him. He lost to a 12-year-old, but let's be let's be 100. Light beat himself, which is what it is. This inspired me to watch Code Geass for 30th time. Wow, that's a lot. I don't think I've watched Code Geass 30 times in a row. At least not from beginning to end. I probably have watched Code Geass like 300 times if you talk about just going through episodes and clips and stuff. Probably 300, but from beginning to end, maybe 3 or 4 times in full. Clovis and Mal have one thing in common. They both got to be the main protagonists of a 3-episode arc. That's a good fact. I'll put that on a fact list in the future. Okay, now we got that taken care of. Let's get started. Let's get started with the first episode. Where are my banners at? I had this. All right. So we're going to start with the day the demon was born. Now, what I'm going to do is I have like images from the show. I'm going to have a slideshow going. Last time I tried something like this, it like nearly destroyed the entire stream. But that was before StreamYards. Now I'm prepared to do this, so there should be no problems. Hold on. I want a full screen. Hold on. It should be a full screen slideshow. Let's see. Come on now. No. There we go. And now a slideshow. No, it's not supposed to. It's not supposed to do that. All right, never mind. No slideshow. Okay, I'll just full screen it then. That's so weird. I had this working like before the stream started. Now it's not cooperating with me, which is just that's just typical. Okay, I'm just gonna share what I have, and it is what it is. All right, so these are just clips from these are images from the episode. It goes in order too, so we can go as we can go through the episode together. The plan I have is to first go through kind of what happened, then discuss my thoughts on it, and then from that point on, we will then go to, I guess, my final grades on each episode. At least that's how we're going to do it for now. I'm not sure how it'll be in the future. It just depends on how you guys respond to the content and what you guys think about. If that makes any sense. Okay. All right, so I got a bunch of notes here. So the episode starts with, now granted, these images are not in perfect order because my file system is completely screwed up. But the episode starts off with, you see Suzaku and Lelouch together. I'm trying to get to the image. They're together, and the show starts, I mentioned this in one of my videos, I think it was the C2 Facts, that the show starts with C2 staring at Lelouch and Suzaku. Oddly enough, I wrote this like a point. They never actually discussed why she was there watching them or what the significance was. We do know that she knew both when they were kids, I guess, but they didn't know her, obviously, because neither one recognized C2 when she came out of the, that pod. But I never understood why she was watching them. They never really explained it. There was a part later on where C2 is like in the, what's it called? She's when she gets out, she signals to Lelouch. Well, not gets out, when she's in the truck, she signals to Lelouch, you're the one I was looking for, which I get, but I never understood why she was in Japan watching Suzaku and Lelouch. They never really explained that. But anyways, she's watching them, and of course, before that, we get the nice heartbeat, which I always enjoy about Code Geass, the nice little heartbeat action. After this, Lelouch declares he will destroy Brittania. They explained how Japan was conquered by Brittania. Apparently, it was in 1 month. I forgot about how long it took, but apparently they were conquered in 1 month. So that's kind of interesting. Even though I thought Todo helped out with, he was actually resisting pretty well. There's a whole like miracle thing he pulled off, but I guess it wasn't less than a month. Also, something else interesting too, I noticed when you watch the explanation of the war, they said at this point here that apparently Brittania was the only superpower, and that's not accurate. What happened was it was a bunch of superpowers. They were the strongest. The sub says they were the greatest superpower. The dub says they were the only superpower. And those are two different things. I haven't gone through too much dub versus sub differences so far, but that one's pretty significant because the Chinese Federation in the EU were significant forces during this time. As I mean, if they weren't, obviously, then Brittania wouldn't care about the Chinese Federation to the point where they would honor their their assembly, their embassy, right? Or they wouldn't be fighting the EU if they weren't a significant threat. So the very idea that there was one superpower is not true. So the dub totally messed that up. They were maybe the greatest superpower. They were not the only one. That's a very interesting translation error. Anyhow, the story picks up somewhat time in the future. So Lelouch is gambling. Let's see if we can get that real quick. So he gambles here. And also the terrorists are currently attacking they're attacking the Britannians. Apparently they killed 51 people in their attack. I wasn't really paying attention, but I watched it this morning, took some notes. They killed 51 people. So Kallen is responsible for that many deaths. But then again, we knew she was she stated many times that she doesn't mind killing as long as the outcome is a good one. Right. So I just thought it was interesting. They killed 51 people after that chase scene or same time, Lelouch beats this guy at chess. It's a famous scene. Now, one complaint that people have made about the chess sequence, I want to move up real quick here, when he wins. And you know who I'm talking about when I say complaint. Someone said that because we don't see Lelouch actually beating the noble, therefore it doesn't prove he's smart or anything. And I always thought that was kind of funny, even like before I even read, like when the person made the complaint, I always was thinking to myself, but it doesn't matter because what matters is the fact that he beat him, right? I don't really care. I don't have to see it to understand the significance of it. You can think of any spectacle or achievement. If someone tells you they did something and there's actual proof, like people witnessed it and there's footage and all that stuff, I don't actually have to see it to know it was a good achievement if it was. Think about sports or, I don't know, someone wins a hackathon, fill the blanks, whatever you're into. But the point I'm trying to make is that Lelouch beat the guy in chess. So obviously he was pretty smart. And he did it in 8 minutes, 32 seconds, which is even faster than he predicted. So I'm not sure why he had a problem with that scene. I don't really want to watch Lelouch play a guy in chess for like 10 minutes. I mean, I guess they could establish stuff, but I don't really care. So I got all I needed from that very first part. Then Lelouch sees Clovis, and he's talking about the terrorists, and they're saying how Kallen is, or Kallen's like, we're Japanese, we're not 11s, right? That whole review, and then he's saying, well, we want to, Clovis gave the whole like BS speech, like we want to help you guys out. I'm here for you, and we all know he was full of crap. And of course, Lelouch is like, I'm not going to mourn for the dead. They're dead. Look at George Kallen over there. Now, what's interesting too is that they're in the car driving, Kallen and Nagato. I don't think it's at this point, but it was pretty interesting because Nagato said Tamaki ruined the whole plan. That's why they had to get the gas. And what's funny is later on, Tamaki blames Nagato. He says darn Nagato to hell, but it was his fault. They're in this mess to begin with. It was pretty funny, the irony of Tamaki. We've only been through one episode with this guy. And he's already revealed to be an absolute moron. He destroyed their whole mission, and it's because of his stupidity they had to do this whole gas plan to begin with. Now, what's kind of confusing, and I made note of this, they mentioned Kallen's brother Naoto as one of the reasons why Tamaki failed or something. They said they didn't stick to Naoto's plan. I made a note of this, but what's kind of weird though is I thought Kallen only joined the terrorist group after her brother died. This almost implies they were working together even when he was alive. So unless I misheard, it sounded like Kallen was working at the same time as her brother with the terrorists. It was kind of confusing because he said that Tamaki ruined. They didn't stick to Naoto's plan, but I thought Naoto was dead. They died during this mission. I was kind of confused about that because I got the impression he died way before this. Or did he die during this mission? Again, I was a little confused on the details on that. Just a thing I noticed. So there's that. Shirley shows interest in Lelouch with the famous tomato scene. Eventually, we get to the point where, they go on the motorcycle. Again, not mourning the dead. This famous scene where Clovis is like, I'm an actor. I play my role. It doesn't matter. And then of course, D-Turt's like, it's all a sham. It's a joke. Because it is. It is a joke. Clovis is a joke. Everyone knows it. But like everyone in the royal family, they all have played this role. And what's funny with Clovis, too, is that, later on in the series, they mentioned how he's such a nice guy and how he was a good painter and apparently also a pervert. And because of that, we should be nice to him even though he was a murderer and kind of a sadistic monster. And what's worse about Clovis is that unlike Schenizel or even Lelouch at some times, Clovis just kills for he's just an idiot with power. At least with those guys, when they did awful things, it was calculated and ruthless. I'm not sure which is worse, by the way, but they both kind of sucked. Anyhow, moving forward, we get to one of my favorite scenes. Lelouch says the famous line, if the king doesn't lead, how do expect his subordinates to follow? And that line to me is pretty much the basis of all Code Geass. Everything after that point is all based on that. I remember, again, another complaint, where, if you've seen the video, where he said, it doesn't mean anything. It's just, trying to be intelligent and smart, but it's neither of those things. Well, that's not true, because that quote is literally, every single battle is always Lelouch coming to making the first move, and everyone waits for him to make the first move. So this line is probably one of the biggest foreshadows in the entire series, which is why I'm glad that they put it in here, because it was a good way to foreshadow. Now, what's kind of funny, they get into the car accident, right, because of Lelouch and Rivalz, because they were driving in front of them. And it was really funny, too, because I believe it was Rivalz asked, hey, was that our fault? And Lelouch was like, nah, probably not. It was kind of funny. I was laughing. Even though Lelouch is a nice guy, ironically enough, he goes to help them out, even though he said it wasn't their fault. So maybe he felt it was their fault. I'm not sure. But either way, that was actually a really funny scene where he's like, yeah, it probably wasn't our fault, but deep down, it probably was. So that's with that. Oh, and there's another funny too. So in this part here, they mentioned how Bartley was going to take over, and they said he was incompetent. Good foreshadowing, by the way, for the next episode. Because Bartley, the thing about him is that he is a general, so he obviously achieved rank over time because of the military service. But we know that his actual ability as a leader for tactics is god-awful. So putting him in charge of this was a huge mistake. So I thought it was fun. They said, oh, not Bartley. And I'm thinking, oh, God. Yes, all the Bartley. And by the way, Bartley is just evil as everyone else in this show. I mean, when they decide to destroy the ghettos, Bartley's like, yeah, these people are awful. They couldn't become out of Brittania if they wanted to. And I'm like, dude, you don't have to drink the Kool-Aid and join with these people. If it's one thing to follow your orders. It's another to go full racist about it. Man, I mean, Bartley was, God, he was really evil. So when he dies in later on in the show, spoilers, sorry, but when he reaches his end, I mean, I was saying to myself, yeah, you don't deserve any kind of redemption. You're an awful person. I don't care if you're flying orders or otherwise. You didn't have to be so forthright about it. My God, he was just awful stuff. So then we get the part where C2 communicates with Lelouch. That's why he's surprised here. I like this part too. All the people are watching the crash and they're recording with their phones. And I'm thinking the whole time, nothing's changed. This is exactly how we are now. This show came out in 2006 and we're the exact same. We have to record everything with our phones. We're actually worse now about it. We record everything. We don't do anything. We just record with our phones. So I thought it was funny that nothing's changed since now and then. Since then. They get into the car accident. Again, Lelouch tries to help them out. And then he actually does a really cool dive maneuver where he falls into the van. Now, what's kind of weird, and I don't think I have the image of this, but so Rivalz is watching this, right? He goes in a truck. Rivalz watching this entire sequence of events. And this is kind of, I don't know if it's a plot hole, but it's kind of interesting. He's climbing into the truck, Lelouch. He falls in, and then Rivalz later on is like, Lelouch, where are you? And I'm thinking, are you blind? You just saw him fall into the truck. You even said, oh, that's not good. It was really funny. Like, Rivalz is just... People say Suzaku was a special kind of stupid. No, Rivalz is a special kind of stupid. Because, I mean, how can you... Rivalz is definitely some of the stupidest you'll ever see in this series. I mean, he He literally watched Lelouch fall into the truck, and he was like, "Where are you?" And then the next episode, he's gonna be like, "Yeah, why'd you ditch me the other day?" Rivalz, I fell into the truck. What was I supposed to do? You can't be this dumb. Well, I guess you can, right, when you're Rivalz, but my God. Uh, Anyways, so then Kallen gets involved, and we get the famous scene where we see a nightmare frame in action. The very first time we see one in real time, which is kind of cool. And of course, it has the red colors that Kallen always has for her nightmare frames. And then she eventually fights Jeremiah in his Sutherland, which was kind of cool. And we see this tactic here. Once her nightmare frame jams up, she shoots her arm off, the nightmare frame arm, obviously, to take out the top Jeremiah. And that's a tactic that we see like Cornelia use and a bunch of other skilled pilots. So it's actually pretty impressive that even with Kallen's little experience with the nightmare frame, I assume it's little, compared to, let's say, the like Jeremiah and Valletta, she actually held off them pretty well, considering. And again, used a really intelligent tactic we see from other skilled nightmare frame pilots. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah, again, Rival's like, God, where is he? Don't you know? We get the savage scene from Lloyd and then Cecile. And by the way, another cute moment with Cecile. She's like, yeah, I figured this whole thing out. Again, we know how smart she is. So that's a great scene. Eventually, we get to this piece of crap. So basically, he sends all the honor Britannians, which are Japanese people, that got the title of... they're not like citizens, but they're better than Japanese. And this guy, man, calling the monkeys. As far as I know, like no one else in the Britannia military is this racist that I know of. But yeah, this guy was pretty bad. Now, when I want to go back on, Lelouch was actually in the truck. Was it back on or forward? I always forget like what the. Oh, okay. Yeah, he was in the truck, and he actually figured out where they were going and why they were going there. So. I didn't mention in my intelligence video, but even here, Lelouch used pretty good deductive logic to figure out they were actually going to the ghetto and they were underground, and he would have to contact the military to be safe. So Lelouch actually used pretty good deductive reasoning here. And then, of course, he wants Suzaku, and he does that famous spin Zaku. Do I have the image of it? Over here. If you see this, it's too late. So he kicked him in the face. And then, of course, they meet up, and he, for the first time in 7 years, which, was a bit of a twist. I like how, you see Lelouch's expression here when he says, destroy Britannia. If you go back, hold on, let's go back to, I don't really want to, but in the very first episode, or the very first scene, the first episode, Lelouch is basically saying, I'm going to destroy Britannia. And if you look at his face here and in the first scene, it's the exact same. So I like that little symmetry between the two. So that was kind of cool. And then, of course, we see Suzaku from the past and the future. They open the bomb, and then we see C2's first emergence. Now, she doesn't even say, by the way, she knew either one was children. It is interesting, though, that in the very beginning, she sees them as kids, and then later on, she sees them as, juniors at this point? Yeah, they're 17, as almost teenager adults. I like the contrast there. They kind of mirrored off the beginning with the middle parts. So it was good writing. Then we see Kallen. She's kind of in the nightmare frame chilling, because that's what she should be doing, I guess. Suzaku's ID is Suzaku. One more time. Suzaku's ID, they said, was 404. I don't know what the significance of that is. It must be something with the numbers, or maybe they just gave him the ID of 404. I'm going to look into it later to figure out why he was given that specific one, if it has any kind of significance. But there is that. We get to the scene where so the main guy of this racist royal army shoots Suzaku because he wouldn't shoot Lelouch. I still don't know why they wanted to shoot Lelouch for. I guess to cover up C2. I don't know. It was kind of a weird scene. And, of course, Suzaku knows that there's no poison, by the way, which we'll get to later. Anyways, they shoot him. Lelouch thinks he's dead. And so that's unfortunate. And then, of course, Nagato, he blows up the truck. And then, let's see. Oh, yeah, we get to this part. I mentioned this earlier, but this Clovis exterminates the entire ghetto because he doesn't want to lose his line in succession. Yeah, because this guy was going to be emperor someday, right? No way. You see this guy's true colors. This is why I don't feel bad for him. This is why I'm happy Lelouch killed him. I don't know how Yuffie ever liked a guy this evil. I mean, even Lelouch told her, like, this is the same person who killed Elevens, and you like him? Really? So there's that. And yes, they externed the whole ghetto. I mean, they killed these poor old people. It's one of the worst. And like Jeremiah is like enjoying this stuff. Bartley thinks it's great. I mean, these people are just awful. The first was it 7 episodes of Code Geass? There's so much massacring going on. I remember that even like the most recent watch, like I don't know, 7 months ago. There's so much death in this show. It's actually pretty graphic most of the time. Yeah, Clovis being himself. C2's running with Lelouch. I wasn't sure why she was running with him. I guess they wanted to escape, but I never understood why she ran with him. I guess it made sense. Staying in the current spot wasn't an option either. I don't know. It was just kind of weird because she wanted him. I mean, she wanted to give him the Geass power. We know that, but she doesn't even tell him about that until like they nearly die. So it was kind of interesting. I don't know. I didn't quite understand that. Lloyd has no pilot, and then of course we get to the scene where they kill a baby because killing babies is the Britannian way. Obviously, he gets a call from Shirley, which is the first of many hang-ups. And she's pissed off that he hung up. But let's be honest, he was going to die. And then they're going to shoot him. C2 takes the bullet. Eventually, she touches his hand. He has a reason for living. He gets the Geass power. We see Nunnally here. He uses it on them. He says that famous line, those who should kill are the only those who are to be killed. And then they kill each other. And that's how that episode ends, pretty much. C2 is actually laying down. Of course, she was smiling after they made the contract. I guess I don't have the image of it, but she was smiling afterwards. It was kind of interesting. It was like I was never really living. I was the lie of living, and that's kind of how the episode ended. I never understood why he didn't take C2 with him the next one, even just to bury her out of respect. But hey, we have had that big reveal, so that's kind of what happened in the episode. I want to point some comments I didn't mention, or not comments, but like other noteworthy things. Yeah, I said it's for C2. For someone who knows Lelouch, he's quite quiet. Even Lelouch at this scene didn't run away when he was supposed to help Nunnally. Yeah, so at the very end, here, he was going to die. But even here, he didn't run away. I mentioned in my latest video about Lelouch versus Light. People show you in their last moments who they really are. And even in his worst moments of possible death, Lelouch didn't run away. He was going to accept his death. He was upset about it. Don't get me wrong. He didn't want to lose, but he was still standing there ready to die. Now, granted, he could have also been paralyzed with fear as well. But just his attitude was more of a mature one compared to Light, who's Light is such a coward. Okay, so what else did I put here? I love the quote that says Lelouch about Geass. Yeah, the whole another logic, another time. I love that part because in Lelouch of the Resurrection, when Lelouch says the same line about giving Pure Geass powers at the very end of the movie, if you remember. So they both said the same thing, which was kind of cool. Now, someone made a comment in the last stream. I think it was pretty good. It was because I think Gate was saying that Marianne's power activated when... Well, it's not Gate who said it, but he made the point how it was kind of contrived, how her power activated when she nearly died. And we were saying in the stream that maybe Lucius was the same, right? He was about to die at the hands of soldiers, and it went off and he used it on them. He didn't really know what he was doing. He said later on he didn't know how the power worked. So arguably his ability might have also worked under duress. It wouldn't have activated otherwise. It just happened to be that when he got the power, he was under duress. He might have had it for months and never need to use it. So we don't know if that would have been the same case with him. So that was a very interesting observation that someone pointed out from last week. And watching the episode again, I think it's a pretty good one. Let's see, anything else? Oh, yeah, another thing too. Lelouch says his name for the first time. So in the very beginning, he says Lamperouge, that's his name. And in the very end, he goes V. Brittania. So if you hadn't watched the show before, you actually learn quite a lot about Lelouch. He has a false identity. Sister he cares about, we don't know her name. Does he say Nunnally? He might have said Nunnally. We get a good introduction of all the characters, which is good. I mentioned before in my R1 review, I'm going to say it again here. Code Geass is so good at establishing the universe, the characters, the setting. Because C2's narration has always been perfection in the show. And they do a good job establishing the characters. You understand who the good guys are, the bad guys. You understand the major conflict. It's well done. Even years later, watching again, they did such a good job establishing all this stuff in one episode. There are many shows that have crappy first episodes that are you're bored to tears, and this one they did such a good job of just keeping you interested and focused, and just quickly but also efficiently, but without losing too much, telling you exactly who to root for and what's going on. I gave it overall a 9 out of 10. I'm not sure why I didn't give it a 10 out of 10. I don't know, 9 out of 10. It wasn't perfection, but it was close, pretty close to it. It's not a 10 out of 10 for me, but it was pretty good. Oh, also good foreshadowing too. I didn't forget to mention there's good foreshadowing in the scenes. Certain characters they talk about, certain nightmare frames in combat situations. So they definitely did some good foreshadowing. And the next one also does also. And another thing too, I forgot to mention, they established all the characters in the show: Lelouch, C2, Suzaku, Kallen, and the student council. So they got those people established as well. You basically learn from like one episode who are the main characters in the story. The only people you don't get is Yuffie and Schenizel, but they're in the intro for some reason, which always bugged me because you don't see Schenizel till much later in the story, and Yuffie doesn't appear till she appears in episode 5, so that's not terrible, but I don't know why Schenizel's in the intro. You don't see him till much later on. He's not even referenced until like the third episode. So, is it third episode? No, second episode. Second or third episode? I'm trying to remember now. Third episode. It's the third episode. Okay. Those are my thoughts on the first episode. It was really good. Always is. It's the reason why the show hooked you on from day one, episode 1. That's the reason. Okay. All right. There's a lot of freaking comments. Let's go through all these. Okay. So is Full Alchemist. Yep. That's not what I want to talk about at some point, too. When I heard they delayed the game to October 4, I played Definite OP2 going crazy. Oh, that intro is great. That's a good idea. Continuing on here. As soon as I saw Lauren, the first episode became my favorite character. Yeah, he's supporting here. Yeah, he's so funny. His sub voice is probably as good as dub. He's so funny. He's such a sociopath, and he just doesn't care. First episode was fantastic. However, one nitpick I have is the Emperor's cameo. It comes out of nowhere, and they don't show his face, so it's like a confusing way to introduce the big bad of the show. True, but at least they show him. So again, they establish everything. Yeah, it's kind of weird. They're trying to bring the Ragnarok connection because that was one of the main driving force of the show, but they don't really discuss it till like much later on. That's a fair point. Oh, Gladiator King, welcome back. I haven't heard from you in a while, man. Thanks for tuning in here. Toto won only the victory against Brittania. It was a miracle because Brittania was using nightmare frames, and they were pretty unstoppable at that point. Right. I guess it wasn't. I guess they didn't hold out for too long. But I thought they made a big deal out of it. But I guess you're right because they simply won. I think that was the significance, not how long they held out for, but they actually beat them. Fair point. They made it seem like when they discussed it that they had it was easy. There was no challenge defeating Brittania or Japan, but I thought there was pretty good resistance, at least early on. I think Clovis was a good villain to start the show with. He was entertaining and a decent threat, and after he was gone, he was replaced by a far superior Cornelia. You got the far superior part right because Clovis was he was really incompetent. I mean, he's an example of having all the data in front of you and not knowing what to do with it. That's a good point. Do you think Lelouch, is it right, could beat Yugi in a game with dual monsters? No, probably not, because Lelouch has been playing it. Tem has been playing it all his life. Wait, is this Yugi with a Tem, or is this Yugi by himself? And what point are we talking about? Are we talking about after Yugi, Tem left him in the end of season 5 of Dual Monsters, or is this early on? Because early on, I think Yugi needs a Tem. If this is the end of the show, Yugi can defeat Lelouch on his own. It'd be a good duel, but the problem is Yugi's been playing his whole life. He's also a prodigy too in that respect. So I think Yugi has that one, especially with a Tem. If a Tem's with him, it's over. I mean, there's nothing Lelouch can do about that. Plus, Lelouch has to get all the cards. You get all the strategy, but you have to get the cards. You have to spend a lot of money to get those Dark Arm Dragons. Yugi never played Dark Arm Dragons. It's a joke, but now I'm going with Yugi. He's the king of games. Lelouch is pretty cool, but he's not the king of games. The king of games. Maze was planning out months ahead, but Naruto died before the mission. Yeah, that must have been it. That's probably what happened. It was just it was they. That's probably what happened. They weren't clear about it because Naruto was saying like, "Oh, Naruto died or something." No, Naruto they didn't follow his plan. They had to do the poison stuff. So I guess what happened was Naruto planned this out that he died, and then they screwed it up, and then Kallen I guess joined them at some point in the middle of that. Because I thought Kallen joined after her brother died, not during, while he was a terrorist. So that's probably what happened. They should have explained it more though. Like in the auto drama, Lelouch notes that he and Saku were kids. Lelouch created a secret sign language, over 500 words. Yep, I read to mention it in my intelligence video. I guess I didn't. I wasn't aware of that one. I just never brought it up because I felt like there was no. When it came to verbal linguistic, I even with that in mind, I still felt they were both pretty equal because Light also was really good with words and he had a strong command of the English language and he was good at debating and convincing people who he was, even when he wasn't that person. So, however you, excuse me, however you look at it, I guess it does make Luch maybe somewhat smarter in that area, but I thought it was kind of equal, even with the sign language thing. But yeah, Luch was a prodigy. I'm more upset I forgot about the piano thing. That really pissed me off. But yes, I think Shirley's first scene in the show is an awkward introduction. It comes out of nowhere with no context. Um, yeah, that's true, but they had to put it out there to establish where Lelouch goes to high school and that they're somewhat friendly for each other because in the next episode, he calls her for help with the Shinjuku ghetto. So they had to find some way to link his high school with his current, with his other life. And that's one of the big things of themes of Code Geass is the fact that Lelouch is kind of struggling between two lives, his life as Zero and the life as Lamperouge. And because he's juggling the two, you get situations like this where he's in the middle of a mission, but he gets a call from like Shirley when he doesn't, he can't talk to her right now because he's kind of doing more important things. So he's constantly struggling the two lives. I think that's why they put that in there. That's how I thought of that. Luch would not believe in that. Probably not. The first episode gave us so many great quotes for Luch. Yeah, you have the first episode gives us the only ones that you kill are those prepared to be killed, and also if the king doesn't lead, how can he expect his subordinates to follow? Those are two very powerful quotes, and arguably two of Luch's greatest quotes, and they basically that's his character in a nutshell. So I totally agree with that one. I don't think the thing about Clovis being a good artist who had a soft spot family made him a good person. I think the purpose of that was to show that he was bad, but not completely evil. I guess I thought it was just propaganda. Like it was more of the royal family didn't chose not to see the bad part of him, or worse, the evil thing Luke Clovis did wasn't considered evil in their eyes. That's probably what I interpret it as, because Yuffie didn't even like. Maybe she wasn't aware Clovis did that stuff, but I'm pretty sure they were aware. But everyone was racist and evil in that family, so what Clovis did was pretty secondary. That's kind of how I interpret it. It was like, yeah, Clovis did those awful things, but they weren't awful in our eyes. From our perspective, he's pure evil, but from their perspective, he's just an innocent guy who likes to paint and stuff. I can see your perspective too. I feel sorry for Bartley though. He goes through so many hardships throughout the show. Yeah, but he's also kind of an evil man. Yeah, he took the fall for he took the fall for what was it? What happened to Clovis? But still, though, I mean, again, we're massacring people. You don't have to be so gung ho about it. And look, you mess with C2 as well. What do you think was going to happen? An immortal witch? Yeah, you're definitely going to live through that experience. I wonder if people recording the crash helped motivate Lelouch to help out because he hates Brittania society and did more out of spite. Yeah, probably. I mean, wasn't he saying he was actually commenting how they're idiots? Didn't he say they were idiots when they were just filming? And he went to go help out? Probably. He hates Brittania society, especially the nobles. He calls them parasites. So yeah, totally agree. That's actually not a bad take. 401 is a not found error code. Other than that, I'm not sure. Yes, I'm a programmer myself. I'm well aware of that error code. To the very little credit I give Clovis, he ordered the massacre after C2 escaped. It wasn't like he had planned that day, unlike what Cornelia and Luch said to Maggetto and the Geass order. Yep, that's a fair point. But at the same time, though, he still was prepared to do it. Yeah, you're that's a good point though. Well, I said earlier that like Clovis, like he's not calculated in his evil. He's just he's so stupid. If he's angry, he lets it all out, but he's not smart about it. So you got a point. He wasn't a first option, but he was willing to do it. Clovis was scared of Toto. Yes, we'll get to that in the next episode. He can also just Geass Yugi. Yeah, but that's if Lelouch Geasses Yugi, then what's the point of the duel? Plus, if he Geasses him, here's the thing though, right? It won't work. I'll tell you why. If he Geasses Yugi while Tem's in his brain, if they switch people, then he's no longer in control because they're two different minds. And the reason why you know this is because in if you guys watched Awaken the Dragons, it was the Orichalco season. Now we're going to complete crazy territory. But during the Orichalco series, jeez, I keep doing it again. Yugi was battling Raphael in the duel when they were on like this mountaintop, or was it a hill and there was like a bridge, and they got across the bridge. Anyways, during this duel, Yugi's Atem was dueling, and Yugi was kind of in his head. And you see Yugi in like this dimension spot, I guess, and he broke the seal of the puzzle so he could get in there to take over. But there are two separate minds at work. If you Geass Yugi, it only works on one of them, not both of them. So if they switch minds, I don't believe that the Geass power would work. Remember when they now we're crazy territory here, but when Yugi dueled against Pegasus, they kept switching their minds so Pegasus couldn't read it. I think Geass would work the same way. If he tries to Geass one of them, they'll just switch minds and it's worthless. Now, granted, as long as that Yugi is under the control, obviously he can't duel. But when they switch minds, Yugi Lelouch is on his own. But Lelouch is not that kind of guy. He wouldn't do that. So, but if we're going to be technical, it wouldn't work in the way you think it would. Again, I'm not sure why I brought that up, but it had to be said. Also, Brittania declared the Japanese fleet at the start of the war. Japan basically got their asses kicked. Yeah, they were neutral, and then they had resources they wanted, and that's what happens. When Suzaku got the shot in the first episode, I thought he was dead, so I was surprised that he was the most prominent character in the show other than Lelouch. Lelouch notes he always beat Clovis in chess. Yes, that was actually a foreshadowing for the next episode. Or was it? No, it wasn't, because they showed that they mentioned the chess thing after he talked to him. That's right. But because he told him he beat him in chess, that's why he beat him in that whole the chess game, or not just the battlefield rather. Okay, I think we've discussed enough of episode 2. We have to do 2 more, so I want to get started with that. Let me get to my banners, and we will move on to episode 2. The White Knight Awakens. But I love how these 3 episodes are called. The first one's called The Demon That's Awakened. Then we have the White Knight Awakens, or A Day a Demon Was Born, The White Knight Awakens, and The False Classmate. Those are great ways to summarize the characters Lelouch, Suzaku, and Kallen. Anywho, let me get the images set up real quick here. I'm going to go back to my face. Where's the icon? Okay. Here we go. Let me get it set up real quick here to the next episode. Give me 2 seconds. Okay. Let me. Good. We're back at full screen. Awesome. All right. Here we go. Okay. Stage 2. The White Knight Awakens. All right. So this episode starts off where we left off. Everyone's dead. Lelouch is confused why C2 gave him his power. Again, after using Geass on Valletta, doesn't take C2 with him to bury her. I'm not sure why. Now, what I like about the scene with Valletta is that you see her hit this communicator, and I like that because it establishes how the Nightmare frames work. In a really creative scene, there are 3 buttons. I assume one communicates between Nightmare to Nightmare. One communicates between Nightmare and person. I'm not sure what the third one does, but it's really cool that they establish how it works, and a really cool scene to get her out of the Nightmare frame. Lelouch then, of course, Geasses her. Let's get that part right here. Yep, with the whole Alan Spacer. And he learns, by the way, that his Geass power doesn't work in Nightmare frames. So that's kind of cool there. He uses it on her. She gives, let's check out first. Yeah. Also, Nightmare Frame uses USBs, which is kind of interesting. She uses the Geass power in her. She gives him the Nightmare Frame, and then he gets inside. And yes, I agree. Valetta's outfit is very hot. She's one of the hottest characters in the show. Okay, let's not fool ourselves. She is. But back to the episode here. Suzaku was recovered. Now this always kind of confused me because he was sentenced to death basically from his superior commander, and then he's brought to a medical facility. Who the heck brought him here if everyone was dead? Like I never understood how do everyone's confused about the whole Nightmare Frame situation when it comes to Suzaku, but my confusion is how did he even get to the med bay? I mean, he was unconscious. Who the heck carried him? They don't even mention it. I assume it was a passing by soldier, but they were all killed by Lelouch. So, and if they weren't killed by Lelouch, then they would have killed Suzaku because the main guy ordered Suzaku's death. So, I don't know who the heck brought him here. But anyways, Suzaku is here. He looks like he's in great condition, of course. They mentioned why he lived because of this, which is, by the way, this is a big foreshadow later on in the series. That's why, again, the show does a lot of foreshadowing. That was one of them. Okay, so continuing on here. Yep, we get that. He gets the land slot. Now, they mentioned here, this is kind of important. This has been a constant problem with Code Geass. They said that Suzaku had no experience with the Nightmare Frame. So people complain and they go, okay, he had no experience. Why was he so talented with it? Well, Suzaku was already a prodigy when it comes to battle and as a soldier. And he didn't say he couldn't pilot a Nightmare Frame. He said they would never make him a Nightmare Frame pilot, which means it's very possible he had simulation training with a Nightmare Frame. Unless a dub got it wrong, he said that they never would make him a Nightmare Frame. They never said Nightmare Frame pilot. He did Nightmare Frame in one of the manga series. I forgot which one it was. He actually becomes a Nightmare Frame. He had his suit he wears is like an actual armor suit. It's one of the alternative mangas. There's a bunch. There's the original anime they turned to a manga, which was incorrect. There's the Nightmare Nunnally. There's the Suzaku with the counterattack. That's the one. It's called Suzaku with the counterattack. Side note over. The point is, I think he had the aptitude to use a Nightmare Frame. It was just more of the lines they never gave him a chance. Anywho, we move on here. More Japanese people are being killed. Kallen is pissed when she's not angry. They fire off a rocket launcher. Lelouch calls Shirley, and that's why they had her early on in the first episode, because he wanted to establish that he and Shirley actually talk often. They're in high school. They mention about how he hangs up on her, or no, he should apply himself. Oh, crap, I forgot something. So, in the first episode, Shirley says something that confused the heck out of me. She says if Lelouch had applied himself, he'd get good grades. But later on in stage, I want to say after the whole situation with the Chinese Federation and the Japanese working together, they're in the school. They're both in detention. I think it was Suzaku and Lelouch. And the teacher said that, even though your grades are top of the class, it's no excuse for ditching. So, which is it? Does he not have the top grades, or does he have the top grades? That was kind of interesting too. Or maybe Lelouch didn't have it originally, and then he had it as he got older, or as the show progressed. I mean, he's getting older, but that's not what I meant. That was kind of interesting too. They said if you apply yourself, Lelouch, you get high grades, but he doesn't apply himself. He's like an A student, so they weren't really clear on that. Anyways, they have a nice discussion here about losing weight. The girls in the background. Shirley, in the same time, gets the TV, explains that there's no information about Shinjuku, so there's traffic restrictions. He hangs up on her again because that's all Lelouch does to Shirley. He hangs up on her. Okay, there's a huge plot hole I wanted to show you guys. You guys may never have seen it, and it's not here. So give me 2 seconds. I want to show you something that's really funny. And I've seen some sin videos on Code Geass, and no one has ever pointed this out. So give me a second here. Okay. So we know that Kallen shot off her arm, right? To take out, to stop Jeremiah. But if you watch this scene here, hold on. Okay, I'm gonna go real slow. This thing lets you slow it down. Okay. What do you see right here? A second arm. So for some reason, and it's always bothered me, for some reason they gave the Nightmare frame a second arm, even though we know it's not, it shouldn't be there. It's one of the most interesting mistakes in the entire show. Like not like a plot mistake, just oh, actually, it is a plot. What type? It is a plot mistake. It's not a significant plot mistake. It's just it always made me laugh. Like oh, why is the arm still there? Or it came back, I should say. I actually watched it again. Maybe they reinstalled it or something or found a replacement, but no, that never actually happened. It was they for some reason just added it back in the scene. It was kind of weird. I want to throw that out there. Anyhow, Lelouch decides to join in the battle. He, of course, Geass on someone to get his nightmare frame, and then he helps Jeremiah. And we get like this really dumb, oh my god, this dumb dive with Jeremiah. He says, and I mentioned this in my R1 review, he says, you know, it's not fun if you run away. Like, how can you call it a hunt if you run away? And I was thinking, wait, hold on. How can you call it a hunt if you run away? Isn't a hunt like if it doesn't run away, then what are you hunting exactly? There's no sport if they run away. No, if they don't run away, there's no sport. Oh, God, it's one of those lines where, and it's not even the dub. Like the sub was just as terrible in this regard. It's always one of those things where I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Still one of the dumbest lines in the entire show. I mean, and Jeremiah's not even a dumb guy. That's why it kind of bothers me. Anyways, oh yeah, see my images are all kind of messed up here. So she lives because Lelouch helps her out. He follows orders, and we get to this part where they go into the truck to go nightmare frames. And let's move on a little faster here. Where is it? Come on, where is it? I thought I had it. They go into their trucks, and Kallen has this expression like, "Oh my god." Okay, I can't find it, but her expression when they open up the trucks to reveal all the nightmare frames, the Sutherlands, was really funny. I can't find it for some reason. It happens when you thought you had, we didn't. Something I was like too is that when Lelouch is talking, so right here is another good part. So after he tells Kallen to get her nightmare frame, energy fueled up or get the next energy charger in there, that's not what it's called, but you know what I mean. He says how he has to really work hard in this because he's putting his life on the line. And I really like that because it just shows that he's willing to find the front lines for this cause. Again, the difference between him and Light is Light would never do something like that, which would make him a better character. Not as a good character at times, but I just like that about him. He was willing to fight on the front lines with his subordinates, even though they weren't even teammates back then. But he just wanted to be with them. It's a good part about his character. Okay, so another thing too, they mentioned, they were talking about C2's death or how they couldn't get her, and what was kind of weird about it, did they know she was immortal? I thought they knew she was immortal because later on when they moved to Narita, it shows pictures of C2 when she was in the military. I think it was World War II or something. So they know she's immortal. So why were they talking about her being dead? It was kind of a weird plot hole because they told the guys to bring C2 back dead or alive, but I'm fairly certain they knew that C2 couldn't die. So that was kind of odd. Unless they didn't know that. Maybe they knew that she couldn't like an elf. Elves can live forever as long as they don't get injured. But they can die if you kill them with like a weapon or something. They can take damage. More Tamaki being an idiot. God, he's so annoying. Like every part in this show, he's just. I mean, people hate Suzaku and Nina. I get it, but like Tamaki, God, he's so annoying. Also, the outfit that Naomi's wearing here is like it's really uncomfortable looking. I mean, they basically like it's. I mean, those are some uncomfortable tights. Then we get to the part where we get this little zoom in here. Lelouch gives everyone chess pieces, which makes sense because that's how Lelouch views the whole situation. Early on, he was looking at a chessboard, so he imagined the whole scenario as a chess game. Again, there were some complaints about that. I don't know why. It made perfect sense to me as someone who I'm not even that big in chess, but I know like I don't even know the pieces. The funny part when I first watched the show, I didn't know that Q1 was the queen, and I think is P1 pawn. I think I didn't really know what those meant, but I understood that when he was giving out orders for the different his men to do stuff, he was doing it in the way you would in a chess game. That I understood. So I don't know why people were confused about that whole situation, but it always made sense to me how that worked. And one of the first strategies they employed was the decoy. They sent out Kallen here, and they killed the two nightmare frames coming. Again, really basic strategy, but Clovis has the same information as Lelouch, and he can't figure out what's going on here because Clovis is not a tactician. He's more of a showman. He can he can play a role, but he can't really. He can talk he can talk he can talk the talk, but he can't walk the walk. Or he can't what's that expression? He can write checks that his ass can't cash. I believe that's what the expression is. That's what Clovis is. So while he might be threatening, he is pretty much harmless in the battlefield. In fact, you know he's harmless. He's dangerous, but not to the opponents, to his own team. And he's pretty incompetent. He basically takes the data and doesn't know what to do with it. He says, "Oh, there's a blinking dot. Let's send our men to the blinking dot and see what happens." Well, you know what happens. They start losing. And he keeps saying more and more troops out there. Bartley, again, exposed as the complete idiot because he also doesn't know what to do. They keep saying troops out there getting annihilated. They keep changing the signals. Doesn't help. And Lelouch explains also here, I got his images cut off, but he was explaining here how, the IFF is a two-edged sword, and it's all the terrorists follow his plan. They should win, which they did, actually. Eventually, things aren't going well, so Lloyd's like, "Hey, you want help?" And they're like, "No, back off." Okay. And then basically they keep taking out more of their troops. And it's a good part where, Lucius like he's moving chess pieces around like this, like, go to this location, that location, because the radar has points on it. And he's treating the points on the radar like you would a chessboard. Again, I'm not sure why people thought it was confusing. It made sense to me, go to this location like a chess piece and take out whatever unit. I don't know, it made sense to me. These guys obviously couldn't figure it out, or they're dealing with someone who is way smarter than them. A lot of people complain that this is not really Lelouch being smart. This is just the guys being stupid. That's not true because, they say if you take I would say in most sports or really anything in life, one of the greatest things you can do as being someone smart is taking advantage of those being stupid. A lot of times, and you can probably, think about this in your own life, where people do stupid things that you could take advantage of to get ahead. Not saying evil, but like take advantage of something. And you didn't, because oftentimes we don't, because of fear or other reasons. So just because someone does something stupid, if you take advantage of it is a very smart thing to do. Like, you should do that. Some people don't. So that's why you could argue that Lelouch is not smart and they're dumb, but I argue no, Lelouch is very smart. He saw an opening and he took advantage of it. That's not stupid. There is many things about what he's doing there. I would not call it stupid. And that was one of DX's complaints. There are so many, but that was one of his complaints. Like, they're not really smart. He is just he's not really smart. They're just really dumb, which is true. They're not exactly geniuses out there. I mean, Bartley was established as an idiot beforehand, but still, he took advantage of it, Lelouch. So that's why I don't favor that as completely Lelouch being taken. I don't think that's the case. It's not a tallest and midget scenario. It's being intelligent to take advantage of your enemy's mistakes, which even smart people do to other smart people. Is what it is, though. Okay, so let's see. Where are we at now? All right, so eventually, took advantage of his failure. Lelouch's moments of victory was great. Yeah, so because they didn't know what to do, they lost their troops. They had everyone break the encirclement, which was a huge mistake. Oh my God, that was the worst. That's how you that those famous meme where it's like, in this moment he knew he fudged up. So in this case, when Clovis sent all his men out to one location, it was in that moment that you knew he fudged up, because he sent all the troops out, and Lelouch basically just blew them all up. This is one of the most deaths in Code Geass, or one of the most in one screen. I did a whole death count video, so. Gotta get me some water. Give me a second here. That's good stuff. Okay. This is one of the most highest death counts in one scene. That's how stupid Clovis is. He got so many people murdered of his incompetency. Now, I believe Clovis says here. He says here, is this better than Toto? And that was interesting to me because I don't know why I never picked up on that, but Clovis actually references Toto way before we even know who the heck that is. So this show is actually pretty good at establishing characters we don't see for a while in the story. Because he said Toto's name. I wrote a, they referenced Toto because Toto saw them earlier, as you mentioned, the whole miracle thing. So that was kind of interesting. They actually mentioned it. It's good, a little reference there. Okay. Eventually, they agree to let Suzaku join the battle. And then we get this nice thing where they said that he actually did the best on the simulator, which makes sense. Suzaku was a prodigy. No surprise there. He looks really cool in that outfit. Anyways, he gets in there. He gets a nightmare frame. We first see the Lancelot, and it's pretty cool. Not my favorite nightmare frame, but I'm not going to deny the overall look of it is definitely one of the best in the series. I prefer the Frontier and the High Grail, which are variants on this one. So he gets in, the power up, and during this scene, by the way, I remember was it Giga who mentioned how they don't explain how the nightmare frames work or how it's just a bunch of crap. But if you actually listen to this whole startup scene, they explain the Yugi Astral. I'm probably saying that wrong. That's also, by the way, the king of the Digimon world. But the drive here and the core and the fuel cell and the whole system, how it turns on, they actually do explain how this works. So it's not like they don't tell you anything. That's complete crap. Little key button here to get started up, and then the Lancelot boosts, and then he goes to battle. I like how Cecile's on the floor. Man, it must have been really, and I mean really intense speed because she's literally laying flat on the floor as Suzaku just shoots out at full speed. And even Lloyd's loving it because he has, it's Lloyd, but such a cool scene. So he's going to battle, and then of course, I'm going to keep it tied, by the way, throughout this video series. This is Tamaki owned once, but technically it's twice because the reason why they have the whole poisonous gas fiasco was Tamaki's fault. If you guys ever watched Dragon Ball Z Abridged, they have like a whole Krillin owned, but we're going to have a Tamaki owned on this in this series. So Tamaki gets owned here by Suzaku in literally a couple seconds. It was pretty funny. He's such a Tamaki. Eventually, Lelouch gets the message that everyone's losing. He tries to give him commands. It doesn't work because Suzaku is overpowered as heck in this extremely powerful nightmare frame. And by the way, the combat here, I was watching more closely, still holds up after like a decade later. The combat is still really well animated. Very impressed with it. Like when Suzaku kicks the Sutherlands, the whole slash Harkin usage, the way he cuts off the cockpits, it's pretty good. I give them credit. They it holds up pretty well. It doesn't hold as well as say Gundam 00, but it's still pretty good. And that's in 00 was like ahead of its time when it comes to animation, so that's pretty good to combine the two, or mention the two in the same sentence. They're also both made by Sunrise, so man, with the bourbon. And listen, they're both made by Sunrise, so that kind of makes sense. I'm trying to mention if I mentioned anything else. Something else too I thought was interesting is a random note, but when Suzaku asks Cecile about the chance of Lelouch being alive, she says it's most likely 0. I was thinking, was that a foreshadowing for 0? I don't know. But it was kind of fun. She said that the chance of him being alive are like 0% or something. I was like, interesting. So if Lelouch comes back to life, he'll become 0. I thought it was a really interesting. I'm probably overthinking it, but I thought it was kind of funny though. Tamaki owned. The action here is well done. Okay, then we get to. So I don't have much more notes besides that. Eventually, Lelouch has to run away because Suzaku is too overpowered. And by the way, more note about this. Okay, everyone complains that at R2 there's no more strategies anymore. It's just nightmare frame. Whoever the strongest one wins. this is the second episode of Code Geass, and we already have a situation where the tactics Lelouch came up with were completely worthless because one nightmare frame destroyed the whole battlefield. Now, granted, Lelouch had a backup plan to get out and walk away to Clovis's transport, but their entire forces fell to one nightmare frame. So don't give me this crap that it's like, well, whoever's best nightmare frame wins. That's Code Geass in a nutshell. It's always been that way. You either love it or you hate it. But don't give me this crap that it's like, only R2 did this. No, both shows did this. So frustrating because look, you can hate it. I said before, you hate it or you like it when it comes to how Code Geass does their stuff, but they're very consistent. It's always been like the best nightmare frame usually wins the day. Just happens to be in R1, there were less upgrades in the nightmare frame, so it seemed like it was more balanced. But let's be honest, it wasn't. Until they got the Gurren, they were losing every freaking conflict. Eventually, we get the spin Suzaku. Also, interesting enough, when he spins at Lelouch, he doesn't recognize that it's Suzaku. That always kind of bothered me. I thought it was kind of obvious that only Suzaku kicks like that. I guess Lelouch never put the two and two together, but one of those random observations. The one-armed Kallen, their first confrontation between her and Suzaku. Obviously, Suzaku wins. Not only is his nightmare frame with the first 7th generation, but the glass skull is it's like really weak compared to even a Sutherland. So obviously, she stood no chance. She runs away, and then Lelouch, of course, tries to do his best to stop Suzaku, even destroying all the rubble. And this is their first encounter against each other. Lelouch eventually has to run away. And I like how right here, this is such a really cool scene. This is not a good comparison, but I'm going to use it anyways. In Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, there's a scene where, very near the end of the show, spoilers, by the way, for Brotherhood. I'm sure you guys have seen it or you don't care. Either way, when Bradley comes back, everyone thinks he's dead, by the way. Everyone thinks he comes back, and Alphonse is talking with Marco and one of the chimeras. I forgot the tiger guy. I forgot his name. God, I suck. But anyways, when they're talking, you just see Bradley walking in the background. It's one of the most terrifying scenes in the entire show. He's just walking. You don't see his head. He has like one of his swords, just walking peacefully in the one direction. They don't even know he's there. Similar situation. Lloyd's talking to Cecile, and Lucius is walking right here. You don't even know. It was such an awesome scene. He gets in there. He Geasses the guy, which apparently CBR didn't know existed. And then he gets to the GI base. Collins, I want to mention this as an art thing. Guys said that Code Geass R1 has some weird art stuff. Well, look at this. What is that? That is a strange, strange design on Kallen. He's very thin there, apparently. Let me zoom in so you guys can see this. She's super thin here. Like, she's not exactly she's a big girl, but she's not. I mean, she's a thin girl, but she's not that thin. My goodness, weird animation. So they're about to be killed, by the way, and they're in the warehouse. And I love this part, right? Absolutely love this part. What does Tamaki say? He says, "Darn Nagato the heck." No, dude, it was your own fault that led to this. You didn't follow orders. You're so incompetent. You're so incompetent, you don't even realize your own incompetence. Oh, man, Tamaki. What an idiot. So stupid. And then when Lelouch... so then we get some really cool... After Suzaku cleans up a little bit, when Lelouch talks to Clovis, this was a really good... I like this part here where he explains who he is. Not just his full name, but where he comes from, his parents, and all that stuff. It's a really good way to give you exposition on who Lelouch truly is without seeming forced. Like, it comes off natural because he has to explain to Clovis who he is in the full context. He's like, "Oh my God, Lelouch, you're alive!" So I enjoy that. Also, in this confrontation, Clovis explains, Lelouch says we used to play chess because Clovis suggests a chess game, and yes, Lelouch beat him all the time. Just like in this confrontation here. So that was kind of that episode. Again, a lot of action. We get to see more about Suzaku's character, how he wants to end the fighting. He says the whole time with the Nightmare frame, I can stop the fighting. That's all he wants to do. Not all he wants to do, but it's like the main thing. Overall, here's what I liked about it. They do a good job in showing Lucius' ability as a strategist, as he in the battlefield, using the chess as like a symbols for like the different pieces. He's able to figure out a whole plan to stop Clovis' troops. That was pretty effective, setting up intelligent ambushes, but also using the IFF signal against them. And of course, that one little thing he did where he killed everyone in one shot. So that was kind of cool. The Nightmare Frame combat in the episodes also really solid. Some of the best you'll ever see in Code Geass, or really in anime period. It's for mecha stuff, especially nowadays where mecha is like CGI heavy, which is unfortunate, but they've kind of gone that route. You don't see this type of animation this anymore. Even Akito the Exile, like the CGI was tolerable at times, if not. I mean, there was some really great scenes. I'm not gonna lie. But I do sometimes prefer this. I know with CGI you can get more, faster, possibly better action, but there is something nice about slower action. You actually can follow what's going on. I'm happy at least with Lucia the Resurrection. They did a better job balancing it, but even then, I can see the argument for why it looked kind of terrible. But still good, and there's a good foreshadowing of Lancelot always being Lucius away. Yep, that's like the biggest theme of the story. And finally, there's a good scene of Lucius' introduction, which I liked. He explained who he is exactly. And I gave the episode an 8 out of 10. Pretty solid. Again, more establishing characters. We get to see more of Lucius' intelligence at work, and more of the terrorist group is revealed, because they're the main characters to the rest of the show. So they're doing a good job building up the whole the line of characters and what's on and the stakes for the conflict. All right, we'll read some comments, and then we will continue on. Let's see. Flooded outfit is hot. Yes, absolutely. Maybe other soldiers. That could have been the people who brought in Suzaku in, but I don't know. Probably another soldier found him by the explosion, investigating the explosion from the truck. I guess, but I would have. They should have explained that, because that was kind of odd. We got a Shirley swimsuit scene as early as episode 2, since Shirley is a swimmer. Her fan service doesn't feel as forced as the other characters. That was fan service? I don't think that was fan service. I just thought that they wanted to show Shirley as a swimmer. It would be fan service if she wasn't wearing the swimsuit, or she was taking it off from the camera. I don't think that's fan service. But I don't think so. Looks cool, though, with the 2 arms, I guess. After reviewing episode 3, you should take a review of the picture drama that takes place directly after it, where the female Ashford clan members are bathing. I'm sure there's a lot of plot to talk about. You know what? I didn't even think about that. I wasn't going to go over the picture drama for episode 3. There's actually a bunch of them. You know what? If we have time, we'll go through them. In fact, I'll remember for the next 3 episodes. I think there's a couple, right, with the picture drama. There's one for Jeremiah. Yeah, you know what? Mental note. Picture dramas will be included in future reviews for the episodes. That's a good idea, because no one's ever talked about the picture dramas. Everyone's talking about Code Geass to death. I mean, God, just go online and type Code Geass on YouTube, and you'll be like, oh my God. Everyone and their mother has reacted to these episodes, so that's a good point. Animation error happens all the time. Yeah, look, I didn't say it was a bad thing. It's just kind of interesting. You're putting on my favorite YouTubers, as some my name implies. I'm just a Code Geass just to get enough attention. I guess so. Thanks for comment, by the way. I appreciate it. In terms of like Code Geass getting enough attention, I think it's gotten. I think it's some level it's been a little oversaturated, because if it wasn't, you wouldn't get like the DXs of the world. So, I mean, that's the problem with show. It gets too big, then you get the counter response. The counter response is always awful, but you should probably expect it. I'm going to have to change my battery in like 10 minutes. So I'm going to do that real quick. You know what? I'll change it right before we go to the 3rd episode. Continuing on here. Nani? Yes. Tamaki and Rivalz are freaking annoying and stupid. Yes. 100%. There's the Suzaku and Nina hate is fine. But Rivalz and Tamaki are the worst. Especially Rivalz. I should make a meme, post in the Code Geass Reddit. Watch Lelouch falls into a truck. The next scene asks, "Where's Lelouch?" How dumb can you be, man? You just watched him fall in. You can't be that stupid. I gotta watch that scene a couple more times to confirm it, but I really thought he watched him fall into the truck and then was confused where he went. You can't be this stupid. Um, Suzaku is better than Tamaki, and personally, I think Anina might be better character than Tamaki too. Yeah, Tamaki is just he's so incompetent. I mean, it's. I mean, we should thank Tamaki because if it wasn't for his stupidity, Lelouch never would have met C2. So he gets the pass, I guess. But that doesn't excuse the fact that he nearly got his own troops killed. And then blames other people for his problems. God, he's so annoying. God, he's so frustratingly annoying. After the first episode, C2 disappears for a while. I think this was a good way of making her more mysterious as the show goes on. We learn so much more about her and we get to appreciate her more. I get that. I'm just confused why Lelouch specifically didn't take her with him. I mean, Lelouch is not a bad guy. He didn't kill Valletta. And, that's another thing, too. People complain that he didn't kill Valletta after he took her nightmare frame. And it, cost him later on because Valletta happened to work with Shirley and, how that went. But, and actually, even worse than that was the whole betrayal in R2. But the thing I would argue or counter with that is Lelouch, didn't know how his Geass power worked. So he didn't know if it was going to be a permanent effect on Valletta, if she'd have memory loss. He didn't know any of that stuff. And I'd go further that he didn't know who Valletta was. If he knew she was some kind of high-ranking officer, he might have been more careful how he acted with her. But he didn't know she could have been some average soldier. And no one would believe an average soldier claiming whatever they had, like a memory loss or something like that. So I don't think it was a fair critique on Lelouch not killing Valletta. It's a good observation. I'll give people credit. It's a good observation, but that's classic dramatic irony where you know what's going to happen and they don't. The characters don't. It doesn't mean anything to me. If Lelouch had prior knowledge on who Valletta was and then chose not to kill her, okay, then you might have an argument. But because he doesn't know, I don't think it's a fair point. But I like the observation, though. I think I just realized a lot more of the incumbent leaders is because Britannia's overwhelming force, and that the competent people are probably in the front lines where they are needed. Or maybe it's something else. That's a good point. I mean, Schenizel's conquering the EU, right? And Cornelia was in some other areas cleaning up stuff. Clovis was probably sent to Area 11 because they were sedated and weren't much of a threat anymore. They would never, under any circumstance, put that guy in charge of something. If there was a legit threat, it could go, they could rebel against him. So they put Clovis in charge of that area because they figured it was an easy job for him. Not because he was some strategic genius, because he wasn't. That's how I always interpret it. They put the dumb people in the areas they don't need to be, they don't care about, like Area 11. Clovis is the least intelligent member of the royal family other than Odysseus. Is Odysseus stupid or boring? I don't know. Maybe he's both. I never knew if he was a boring, stupid man, but I do know that Clovis was pretty stupid. Definitely drunk with power too. I mean, he was at least talented in the arts and a little perverted too. But with Odysseus, we don't know much about him. So probably it's true. But the YouTuber name is Professor Viral, and he keeps saying the characters are stupid. So Lelouch isn't smart. And I was like, dude, look at the armor he's facing. Oh my god, please don't bring Professor Viral. He made a video. I don't hate the guy personally. I don't know him, so I can't hate someone I don't know. But he made a video about why Lelouch was supposed to lose. And I wrote a comment saying I was confused about it. We went back and forth. I was surprised he even read my comment. And his video it wasn't terrible, okay? It wasn't bad. It's just that I didn't get the point at the end of the day, what he was talking about. And I basically said, wait, because he didn't follow a certain ideology, he deserves to lose? I didn't think that's how that worked. It was really confusing. And he's again, I don't hate the guy, okay? But he makes tons of videos on Code Geass. He gets so many things wrong that it's really irritating. If you're going to talk about the show, For God's sakes, please do some research. I've said this 1,000 times, even with Giga too. Like, please do some research before you go off and make a video, especially when you make very strong claims. It's one to make like a small claim that's like, okay, one way or the other, but please do enough research as you can so you can defend your arguments. But like you're getting little details wrong that are kind of significant. That's kind of problematic. And that's why some of his videos that he makes are really irritating. He made one recently, and he mentioned how like oh god, it was bad. How Lelouch was an idiot. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to go into it. Not the time or place, but yes, Professor Viral is one of those YouTubers who, when he sticks to his expertise, like Tokyo Ghoul and Black Lagoon, he's pretty intelligent. When he goes into other areas, it's kind of like Showdown too. You see a lot of holes, you see a lot of cracks in what they know, and that's why everyone kind of specializes on YouTube, anyways, because you can't really be knowledgeable on every single show. It's just not possible. You got to pick a show or a couple and stick to those shows. That's kind of how it is, which makes sense because there's so many characters and power systems and plot points, and you can't keep it all in your head. I can barely. I have like maybe 10 shows in my head at any given time that I can memorize and think about, but that's about it. And even then, it's still not. It's still not easy. Like, I love Monster. I've watched the show like a billion times now. Or not a billion. I've read the manga so many times. But I still can't tell you like which chapter what thing happened. I can tell you the general area. But I don't know. But Code Geass, I can probably tell you which episode, what character said what in which episode. Because I'm really into that one. But other stuff, it's hard. So, I get people want to expand their areas, but you got to do some more research before you make videos like that, because you're making strong claims, man. And look, I used to do that too. I went and read it, and I said stuff, and man, I got burned. So you learn from that. At least you're supposed to. You're supposed to learn. Okay. You need a brain to lead troops to victory. God, yes, you definitely do. And you have to motivate them as well. One of the things that people don't seem to understand about Lelouch, and I hope it is clear in my intelligence video, that his verbal linguistic and his interpersonal intelligence are both really high, because he was able to communicate effectively with the troops, but also motivate them to want to win, and they could win. And that's, morale in battle is literally what tips everything. And I'll give you an example of how I know this from another story. In Knights of the Old Republic, if you ever played that game. By the way, they're remastering it for the PS5, which is kind of cool. I assume Xbox as well. But anyways, they're remastering that game. But in the game, Bastila is like the most powerful Jedi, or she's one of the most powerful Jedi. And her entire reason why everyone wants her is for her battle meditation. And what that does, it allows her to influence other people on the battlefield, basically destroying the morale, among other things. And the purpose behind bringing that up is to mention that if your troops don't believe they can win, they're not going to win. So if you can motivate them with strong words, and also just understanding their motivations and emotions, you're a pretty smart person. That takes a lot of skills. I've worked under a lot of people who do the same thing. Getting people to work together is extremely difficult. So only the smartest people can do that sort of thing. It's a very underrated aspect of Lelouch's character. In this whole episode, you see that on full display. So I get what angry people mention the whole like stupid aspect of Lelouch or the dumbness of the people he fought, but that's not at all what was going on there. Because even if, let's say for sake of argument that Lelouch wasn't that smart, they were just dumb. Okay, fine. But if he can't get the troops to obey him and take him seriously, and there's no respect or even the will to win, who cares? They're not going to win the battle. It doesn't matter what Lelouch says to them if they're not in it. So I never understood that, because the morale is the most important part of the war, about a battle. And he was able to motivate people to succeed. And that takes a lot of skills. So I never understood why that critique is always lost to me. Wow. It was so much pumped in when I was just like, StreamYard tells me I have like one comment waiting, and there's like 15 that show up. Good job, StreamYard. You really helped me out here. Okay. Lelouch might make some foolish choice out there, but he's a brilliant mastermind. I agree, he is. He always says he's putting himself in his life on the line. Yeah, I like that. Again, it's a really underrated point, but it just shows you that not only is he in this to win it, but he's willing to accept the consequences of defeat. Like he's with these guys. He's fighting the front lines. It's one of my favorite parts about the character. God has Professor Viral not pay attention to the show closely and Lucius strategies and use tactics. No, not really. That's the problem with a lot of YouTubers when it comes to critiques on Code Geass, which is fine. Critique Code Geass, go for it. I have no problem with that. But again, do your research, please. The Lancelot has no envious sword or Varus can in the first fight. I also love Saku's use of the Harkins. No other character shows that much skill. Um, yeah, exactly. No one does. Like he leaps into the air. He uses the Harkins to cut off the heads of the Nightmare frames and smash them into each other. How about in episode 17? Not 17. 20. He caused all the Nightmare frames to crash into each other, the Chinese Federation units. I have rather name with him, but he takes like his Harkin because he had like his weapons were out of power or no ammo left. He had to use his Harkins to kill a bunch of them. If it comes to the slash Harkin, I think Suzaku is a master at them. Lucia's not bad either. Like with the Gawain, he with you didn't hear me a word I just said there. The Gawain, he's pretty good with that Nightmare frame. So that's a good point. Code Geass is popular, but isn't iconic as animes like Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, and Pokemon. I think Code Geass deserves more worldwide fame. Well, let's hope. Let's hope the let's hope that the new show kind of sparks that. But again, given what's it called? How Higurashi has done and Fruit Basket, and I don't think this is going to really even Zero Capture is a success. I don't think it's going to get Code Geass back to where it was. It's very possible that it was a lining in a bottle. I'm not sure you can recreate that again. We'll see though. The other problem too is when you wait too long to bring something back, people lose interest or they're not going to stay into it. Like Full Metal Panic, Invincible Victory, or the new Eureka 7 films, which look really cool, by the way. There's a new one coming out this year, I believe. I never watched any of the films. I heard they were garbage, but you know what? I love Eureka 7, so what the heck? I'll watch them. I'll find a way to watch those movies. I'm a big fan of the franchise. Let's see here. Well, Luke said this was a mediocre prince. Well, mediocre doesn't mean stupid. It means average. Average doesn't equal stupid. I don't think it does. Um, okay, come more, and then I gotta change the battery. That video he made was the video he made was called Lucy the Genius. You're wrong. I straight up dislike because he claims are terrible and he reason God I will do. Lucius is a brilliant yes master. It's ironic in a video where he discussed Lucius being really smart. He actually he made good points. Like he mentioned how Lucius was able to keep people working together. And that's a good point. It's one of his intelligence that people don't discuss often. So I appreciate that. But for some reason he had to go and poke Code Geass for things that weren't even valid critiques. It was a very strange video. It had good parts. It had bad parts to it. I'll say that much. The bad parts were pretty bad though. That video he made looks like the same comment twice. Okay, cool. I'm gonna change my battery real quick, and then we will go on with the third episode because we've already gotten to the first two. Obviously, I'm gonna throw up I'm gonna throw down a face down. No, I'm gonna throw my watch later. Okay, I will be all right. Okay, I think we should be back. All right, let me get rid of that. Let me hide that banner. You can't see it anyway, but we're still going to hide it. Okay. And let me share my screen. Sharing screen. Yes, I know this works. Thank you. Okay. And we'll go back to this. This is actually probably better anyways. Okay, a couple more comments and we'll get back into it. All right. There was called a Chinese Federation Gun Ryu. Yes, thank you. That's what it's called. Those are cool Nightmare frames, by the way. Those Nightmare frames are probably one of my favorites. They're pretty awesome. I mean, they're not like top 10 for me or even 15, but I still enjoy them. They're kind of like small little, like, I don't know. They have like a little like round with the two guns. I don't know. They're kind of funny looking, but I like it though. My favorite anime dub. Yeah, it's pretty good. Third episode ends in Clovis' trilogy. R.I.P. Clovis. I love C2. Me too. Yep, Clovis the same dub voice as Naruto in Teen Ninja Turtles for 4Kids. There you go, people. Mr. Kaji with the random fact. Really, the same voice actor? Huh, that's really random. Okay. That's kind of cool though. Okay. All right, let's go on to the third episode of Code Geass. I'm going to show you my face so I can get it going. Give me 2 seconds here to get the last one going. Okay. Open. Perfect. Can we get the slideshow now? No, we still can't get it. All right. Never mind. What first you see, try again. Or maybe not. Maybe not try again. Let's see. F11? Should that make it... Why is it not full screen? I thought I had this figured. I shouldn't have messed with it. I'm so stupid. Okay, got it. Okay. All right, we're now going to start with the third episode. It's a blank screen. Dun, dun, dun. No, I'm just kidding. It does that for some reason. I always get the first second, which is empty. Lelouch, by the way, good horseback rider. I think I mentioned in one of my videos. He's a good horseback rider. Okay, the episode starts with the aftermath of what happened to Clovis. The people are essentially escaping. You see Kallen and Ogi, and they're confused. Why are they being escaping? Well, unfortunately, not fortunately, but Lelouch was in charge. He told Clovis to let everyone go. So that's why. Oh, I said Jeremiah. Okay, here's something too I mentioned, or I took note of. I didn't mention it yet, but I'm about to. Jeremiah mentions the stolen gas. He mentions stolen gas, meaning he has no knowledge of what's actually in the container. And that's important because later on, Lelouch uses when Lelouch tries to use the Geass on Jeremiah, or the whole plan to save Suzaku, rather, he counted on the fact that Jeremiah didn't know what was in the poisonous gas container. That's why that plan really worked. And that's why I was angry when someone else made a comment saying that his plan was stupid, Jeremiah was just dumb. I'm like, no. Lelouch knew that Jeremiah didn't know about what was in that container, so he knew he could take advantage of it. But it's the same thing too when in the Taco Battle Dome, how actually the King said this, how if Lelouch only put himself on the line against Jeremiah because he had Geass power, and someone rightfully pointed out, this was one of the best counter arguments they made, which was if Lelouch didn't have Geass, he wouldn't have gone out there. He went out there because he had the Geass power. He would have came with a different strategy if he didn't have the Geass. So I found it interesting that people have made this complaint how the whole situation with Jeremiah was like, I'm getting ahead of myself, but that was one of the best plans in the whole show, bar none. We'll get to that next week. I just wanted to mention that. Okay, so they're talking, and then we get this nice little scene where Lelouch explains what happened to his mother. So within the last 2 episodes, we first learned about Lelouch's real name, the royal family, and now we learn what happened to his mother. How Lelouch thinks that because she was a commoner who had a royal, lineage now because she married into royalty, they killed her. And they covered it up. Lelouch was right about one thing. It was a cover-up, but he was obviously wrong about who killed her. But you know what? Considering what Lelouch knows, even at a young age, pretty smart. He figured out it was a cover-up. Again, he was 7 here, and he he figured out here that it was a cover-up. So Lelouch has always been pretty good with the deductive skills right there. This is one of the most sad scenes in the entire series, by the way, because of what it led to. He uses he tries to shoot. Well, he threatens Clovis. He uses Geass on him, and we get to this part where Clovis. Now, here's when I confused the heck out of me, and maybe I'm missing something. So enlighten me if I don't know. He asked Clovis, "Who killed my mother? Who was your daddy, and what does he do?" No, he killed my. Who killed my mother? And he says Cornelia and Schenizel would know. Now, here's where I'm confused. Okay. Cornelia was Yuffie told Lelouch in stage 19 that Cornelia did some kind of investigation on what happened to Marianne. So yes, Cornelia would know what happened to Marianne. But how would Schenizel know? Was he investigating this? Was he involved? As far as I know, Schenizel had no knowledge of what happened to Marianne. There is no conversation I can think of where Lelouch and Schenizel even talk about Marianne at any point in the series. So I don't know how Schenizel would know. The only reference that Schenizel ever even discusses Marianne was when he flirted with Cornelia, or I think he was flirting. Some people say I'm crazy, and that's fine, I am crazy, but he was saying, like the Flash herself, which was Marianne. So Schenizel knew that Cornelia, not admired Marianne, but did he know what happened to her? It was kind of strange for him to name drop Schenizel like that. And here's the thing about Geass too, right? Geass makes you tell the truth. Or it makes you do whatever what Lelouch says. So you can't hide. But you also only say what's actually accurate on your understanding of it. Because Geass makes you do, or like Lelouch's Geass, it'll make you do a command at your best ability. Which will come, by the way, later on with Mao. But I'm just confused why he name dropped Schenizel as opposed to Odysseus. Or worse, or better yet, why did he say, ask your father? He would know. Wouldn't Charles know if Schenizel knew? Kind of odd, or someone else higher up. He name dropped Schenizel and Cornelia for some reason, and I'm not sure why exactly. He name dropped both of them. I mean, I know why from a story point of view, because then we also learn about Cornelia and Schenizel. It's a good way to introduce new characters into the fray, but as far as I know, I don't recall Schenizel ever talking about Marianne to Lelouch, or really in general, except for that one conversation with Cornelia. That's one of those things I'm like, why did he name drop both of them? So that was kind of interesting. And then, like I mentioned before, Clovis stops talking. I think it was it here? Yeah, because he couldn't. If you can't obey a command with Geass, you just don't do anything. And that comes in handy later on, or that will come into play later on when we discuss what happened with Mao. I talk way too fast sometimes. We get to this classic line where he says, "You can't get the world. You can't. Change the world without getting your hands dirty." We've gone through 3 episodes, and Lelouch has said some of the most epic quotes of anime history. You can't you can't change the world without getting your hands dirty. Excellent, excellent quote. Okay. All right. Now we fast forward to the student council because Lelouch shot and we see pigeons flying around instead of, because they want to show when gunshot fires, things kind of it's a sound, they all run away. So Millie is hitting Lelouch in the head. God, this episode of compared to the other 2 wasn't as good. I'm gonna say that much. So she's hitting Lelouch, and Rivalz says, "God, you ditched me the other day." I'm like, "What happened? Are you serious? What happened? You were there." Why doesn't Rivalz even ask about the truck? Oh my God, Rivalz is special kind of stupid. See, surely it makes sense. She had no knowledge of anything, but why didn't Rivalz say, "Hey, you fell into the truck, or you're with the truck"? What happened to the truck? And there's no question on it. It was just one of the things where I was saying to myself, dude, ask about the truck. God, Rivalz, so annoying. And then we get the famous Millie line where she says, Shirley, you really fell down the right places, and, you're kind of hot. Again, because Millie's either bi or an old man. We don't know. Also, this this crap. What is this? God, I hate Rivalz. But yeah, she's like, oh, that stupid horse guy again. And then they do the whole budget, and then again the whole thing with the pervert thing. By the way, she tells Shirley, or no, Shirley said that she has like gymnastics class, that's why she's really athletic. I don't think Shirley is in the gymnastics. One more time, I don't think Shirley's in the gymnastics club. I thought she was just in the swimming team. So that must have been a dubbing typo because she was not in the gymnastics club, and she's only strong because she's on the swimming team. I'm not sure what the. I think in the sub it says she just works out. In fact, I'm going to find out right now. Give me a second here. Uh, like Harry once said, you weren't supposed to see that. No, 1 second. I'm going to go right now. What does Shirley actually say in the sub? Does she say there's gymnastic class, or does she say she works out? Gymnastics. Let's see. Do I have it here? If not, I'll load up the episode. I just didn't want to if I didn't have to. Let's see. I checked on the girls' bathroom. I bet you did. Okay. Hold on a second. So I'm gonna go to the episode real quick to see exactly what she said. I'm pretty sure she did not say gymnastics class. So let me I'm gonna load up real quick. 1 second. Come on, computer. You can do it. You can do it. Okay. This is actually a brand new computer. I'm not sure how I motivate my computer to do something. It doesn't understand. I'm so smart. Okay. Let me get to the part. I don't want you guys to have to sit through. I can go through really quick with my clicker. Yay, clicking is fun. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Oh, God, Rivalz. Yes, she says the following. I practice a lot. She says nothing about gymnastics class. Here, I'll make it bigger so you can see it. See, we practice a lot. So there is nothing about gymnastics class here. So I'm convinced it was a dubbing mistake. Like the whole thing with the superpower situation. Anywho, doesn't change anything. I just thought it was kind of interesting why they brought that up randomly. There she is again. And then I like I said before, oh, you're really hot, Shirley. I check you on the bathroom all the time. God, Rivalz. Okay, then we're in class, and they said, oh, the dead people, yeah, of Shinjuku, and then they have people in the gas thing. I mean, they're so determined to cover this up. They have people literally pretending there was a gas leak, even though there obviously wasn't. And then, of course, we have, God, these eyes, Lelouch talking to Shirley about why he asked her with Shinjuku. And then he nearly throws up here because he thought about what he did to Clovis. So I guess he was, as he said here, I guess I wasn't strong as I thought I was. So I kind of like the scene. I've always interpreted it a couple different ways. I mean, obviously he was kind of grossed out because he never killed someone before, and usually when people fire a gun on someone, they kind of throw up because they can't handle it. Of course, Lelouch did just kill 10 soldiers before when he was using his gas power, but I guess a gun is different. Or maybe he felt bad about it. Either way, he couldn't handle the fact that he killed them initially. So there's that. We see Jeremiah and Valletta have a little conversation about how to handle the situation with Clovis's death, specifically who to blame it on, and of course, should the Pure Bloods take over? Because the Pure Bloods have always been waging war with the royal family. I mean, that happened in Reign of Darkness, and that took place in 1860 when Lorenzo was fighting against Claire, if you remember. Did anyone read Reign of Darkness? And nobody did. It's okay. Maybe once Genesis RE Code comes out, maybe people will actually start reading that manga or care about it. We see Kallen, and they explain her whole backstory, how she was how she's apparently really wealthy, but also very sick. Of course, Lelouch figures out immediately this is the same girl who was with him, who was with the resistance group earlier. I often wonder if Lelouch could figure this out, why no one else could. It's not a major plot hole, but it definitely is a plot hole. Okay, they don't show it here, but Rivalz makes this expression. I'm going to show you really quickly. This really dumb expression. Give me 2 seconds here. Okay. Get to it right quickly. Let's see. All right. Come on. Come on. Yeah. This. What is this? This is the I want. I'm so annoying that Lelouch was. This is the face that this is the most punchable face you'll ever see in anime. What is this expression by Rivalz? God, he's so annoying. Man, between him and Tamaki. They're both annoying for the same gosh darn reason. Okay. Anyway, continuing on here. So we see Kallen. She's in school, but she's not participating because she's pretending to be sick. In reality, she's not. She's very smart. She's hanging out with her friends. Then we find Jasper, and she kills poor Jasper. He wanted to be his friend, and she killed him. It was kind of disgusting, But look, bees are what they are. We get to this scene where Lelouch uses Geass on Kallen to order her to answer some questions. I originally misinterpreted this scene. I thought that the order was basically permanent, meaning she'd have to answer questions forever. Apparently, it's not the case. It was only in the context of when Lelouch was talking to her. I saw a good Reddit post that talked about the whole situation between this type of command and the one to tell, let's say, Suzaku to live or something. So I thought it was interesting that they actually differentiate between the two different types of commands you can get with Lelouch's Geass. It's quite, it's more detailed than you would think. Either way, this is a good scene. Now, here's what I don't understand, right? I wrote a note about this. I mentioned it with Clovis, but I think it also works here. He asked her, why are you resorting to terrorism? And I mentioned that she doesn't mention the fact that, or I wrote, I should say, that she doesn't mention her brother. And I thought she joined the terrorist group because of her brother. But she says nothing about him at all when talking to Lelouch. There is one possible reference. When Shirley is watching on, she sees them talking, but we don't know what they're saying. We can't hear them. It is very possible in that small couple seconds, she mentioned her brother, but the show didn't want to reveal it because of reasons, I guess. But I just found it odd she never mentioned her brother as one of the reasons why she joined the terrorist group, which is one of the reasons why she did. So I was kind of confused why she doesn't mention it here. It's not a terrible part of the story. I was just kind of like, okay, let me get this straight. You didn't mention like the main motivation behind joining the terrorist group. Your brother, Kallen. But it is what it is. Still, though, I think it's kind of interesting that she doesn't mention. Anywho, Lelouch gets screwed because he tried to Geass 3 times on Kallen, and he didn't realize it only works once on someone. Kallen gets kind of pissed off, and Lelouch runs away to class. I guess they never talk about it again. He comes home, and I like this line. When he arrives, he says, there's no place like home, which is interesting because that's from, as you know, Wizard of Oz, and Code Geass has a Wizard of Oz connection in Oz the Reflection. So, nice little callback there. Probably not intentional, but hey, it was a nice little callback. Also, something else interesting too I noticed about this. I mean, it's random observations. I know, crazy stuff. But when the Lelouch knocks on the door, Nunnally is the one who hears her before Sayako. See, she's looking like this. She's aware that Lelouch just came to the door, but Sayako isn't. Now, this makes sense in this part of the story because if someone has, like, I'm sure you guys know, if one of your senses doesn't work, your other ones are heightened as a result. So her hearing would be better than Sayako's. Except one problem. Sayako is a super ninja. She should have heard Lelouch the same way as Nunnally had. Again, really random observation, but shouldn't they have both heard him coming? Or at the very least, Sayako should have got to it first? Oh, hold on a second. I got to change something. The wrong banner is up. Okay. Anyways. But shouldn't they have both heard him coming? Again, I know. Really weird observation. But I just don't know, like, what's the... Why? I mean, I'm not sure what was the purpose behind that. But anyways, just a random observation I noticed. Continuing on here, so they moved to Narita. So they mentioned that they're going to Narita, which is the first, I believe, mention of it. And again, I was discussing this earlier. Don't they know that C2 is immortal because there's an image of her fighting in World War II? So why were they even suggesting they could kill her? It was kind of bizarre to me. Also, the Emperor didn't know they were conducting these experiments, but the whole time he was looking for C2. Man, Clovis. So smart, but so dumb at the same time. It's incredible to me. Absolutely incredible. Okay, let me get to the next part where Lelouch makes dinner because, dinner is a nice thing there. They're talking. Lelouch mentions he wouldn't lie to Nunnally. He asks her about, like, what would you want in a world, and she says she wants a gentler place. And Lelouch says, when your eyes open up, you will see it again. You will see one, which was foreshadowing for the future. Also, what's important here is that Lelouch establishes exactly what his motivations are, which is to help Nunnally make a gentler world for him. And what I also like here too is I mentioned this before in many discussions about Nunnally, specifically why I don't like her character, but or not, but in regards to that, Lelouch says in this point here, I don't have I can get the subtitles up, but there's no need. I can tell you what he says. He mentions that right now they're living under the Ashfords. The Ashford they're shielding them thanks to Millie and her family, but that's not a permanent solution. Eventually they'll have to leave, and then what happens? Everyone will abandon them, and they'll go back to where they were. And that's why Lelouch had to do what he did, destroying the whole world for Nunnally. They couldn't live in hiding forever because eventually they would get sought out and bad stuff would happen. They were basically they were being hunted down. So when later on, when Nunally's like, I didn't want any of this, it was just like, are you an idiot? We couldn't live any other way. You can't be this stupid. And I like how in this episode they clearly establish all the significance behind why Lelouch is really doing this. What's the purpose behind it? Why it has to happen? It's a very good scene, and it really establishes his whole motivation. I like how in these first 3 episodes they really establish Lelouch's motivation behind why he's doing everything he's doing, which is important because you have to know why you have to understand the character well enough to root for them, and you clearly do with Lelouch's case. So another kind of not random, but important note about his motivations. Okay, eventually after they're done talking, they pinky swear. Where was it here? I think Sayako was talking. Not Sayako. Oh yeah, we get this famous scene where Lelouch tells he figures out his Geass only works once on people. Kallen talks to Ogi, and then we get this picture of the brother and Kallen. So that's our first introduction to Kallen's brother. Again, I don't know why I should mention him when talking to Lelouch. And there's a part here which I don't exactly know what Lelouch said here. In fact, I can find out real quick if I go to the subbed episode. Is this a subbed? I think so. No, it's not. Okay, 1 second. I want to show you guys something. Because Lelouch says something in this. I know it's an anime. When you have a character reading something, generally speaking, it's not an accident they chose those lines. He says when he's reading the whole thing out loud about a leader who chose the right troops, and because of that, they won or something. He had their admiration and respect. By contrast, the ruling class with intensified education and training, a superior breed of ruler was produced. What else did he say? He said something else which was interesting. Contrary to the ruling class and education training, a superior breed of ruler was produced. There was something else too he mentioned about how everyone worked under him with efficiency or something. I can't remember the exact line, but I thought it was good foreshadowing for when Lelouch forms the Black Knights. Because usually when characters read stuff out loud, it's not an accident. Like when Light is in school, he reads something about the world and how something about the boredom of it, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Light would read something like that. So this scene was not an accident. That's all I'm trying to say. In 1,000 words or more. Okay, now we get to the part of the show that I'm not a big fan of. You know what's coming, so don't be surprised. Here we go. So Bartley's thing is attacked. I don't understand how Bartley didn't know what happened, even though we know what happened with Bartley. I mean, he was Geassed. Apparently, Jeremiah said, like, where's Bartley in the last episode? And they said, oh, he's not there. Like, why not? Well, because he was Geassed. Lelouch told him not to be there. All right, so they were going to do something, and Lelouch didn't want to show up. He talks to Kallen. Oh, this is kind of weird. So Shirley was going to hang out with a bunch of friends, and Lelouch is like, nah, I want to talk to Kallen. Okay, that makes sense. But then when they go to talk later on, Shirley's there. So did Shirley like abandon the friends too? Probably. Who the heck knows? Anyways, they're talking in the school clubhouse. They're having a nice conversation. Nina's research is discovered. I'm thinking the whole time, like, no, destroy that. That's the flaws. Get rid of it. No, don't. That data needs to be destroyed, Shirley. Don't give it. It's too late. We are all screwed now. So Millie comes there, and they're going to induct Kallen. And I like this part, too, by the way, because they mentioned, I've seen a complaint, like, why is all Lelouch's friends are in the student council? How convenient. And I'm thinking, they explained why she's in the student council, because she is feeble and weak, and her father thought that putting her into this would be a nice way to get her into a club without being too intensive for her. I don't know why it's a contrivance if the show explains in pretty good detail why it has to be this way. Any event, so they're talking. Nunnally appears. So Colin's like, okay, he's got a sister, and she's actually pretty friendly towards her. They play with a champagne bottle, and, well, you know what happens. Kallen gets drenched, and she goes take a shower. While they clean her clothes, Lelouch brings his clothes. We get the first nude scene in Code Geass. One of three. One of three. And so he's talking to her. They're basically how he lives in the dorms, because otherwise they couldn't take care of Nunnally. It's actually quite nice of him to do that. That's how much he cares about her. Now he's about to walk away. I know some people said, well, if he walked away, his plan wouldn't work. So obviously, it's a contrivance. No, Lelouch probably would have done something else to stay around. It just happened to be that Kallen said, hey, wait, come back here. So he grabs her hand. He demands to know who he is. Eventually, the phone rings, which is good because he was going to die otherwise. She picks up the phone, and there's a recording discussing, her keying, which is Q1, and they're going to meet up later on. And this whole time, by the way, Kallen's arms are down, so obviously Lelouch sees everything, that whole naked body. And he just, minds all business. Right here. See this? You see how Kallen's arms are like this? So obviously she's not covered up. So Lelouch is seeing basically everything. And of course, he tells her that later on. Now notice here, I'm glad for the stream purposes, but Kallen's, okay, this is a really strange observation, but she's actually, they censored the nudity in the original showing of the airing of the show. See how the steam covers up her boobs? Again, I know this for the wrong reasons. But anyhow, the steam covers up her boobs in this scene, but in the Blu-ray, if you have it, they don't cover it up. You see everything. They remove the steam. That's what it should have said on the cover of the Blu-ray. It should have said, Code Geass Blu-ray Collection. We've removed the steam. And if you're a fan of the show, you know exactly what they're talking about. So eventually Lelouch is like, he said, oh yeah, game. That's one of you keep like dangerous company because of the games you play. He goes, yeah, of course, games, right. Games. So eventually he says, I can see you, right? And I don't have it here, but I will show you guys real quickly. There's a little part they have, and this is the part that they uncensored. So I won't get in trouble because they censored here. If you go I'm going to go scene by scene here. Okay. Because you guys stay long enough. Okay, so so here, can't see anything because they steamed it up. Now if I go real slow, all right, wait, hold on. Yeah, so in this part here, you can't see anything. They covered her all up. But in the Blu-ray, it's all gone. There is no steam. So little fun factoid there. Like, you see how they covered it up. So that's, that probably wasn't okay to show that. But I had to. For educational purposes, you had to see that. Okay. I mean, it's episode 3. Come on. I'm going to exploit that. So eventually she said, I could see you. And she's embarrassed, obviously. And she goes, I'm wrong. Psycho's like, what the fudge just happened to me? They're talking, and Kallen is wearing Lelouch's clothing. By the way, this is the first character to wear his clothing. C2 wears it like later on, but she's the first one to wear his clothing. Shirley, I don't think ever wears his clothing. Kind of a random factoid, I guess. Like Trivia Pursuit Code Geass edition. But yeah. Okay. So continuing on here. And we see the news that Suzaku is, well, he's the killer of Clovis. And Lucia's like, wait, what? No, I am. Not that. Jeremiah gives like this epic speech about how they're going to avenge. By the way, Valletta's outfit is pretty badass, I'm not going to lie. Oh, he's talking to his troops, and then she's giving the news about the killer of Clovis. It's Suzaku, and that's how the episode ends. Oh god, what a twist! Woo! And that's how episode 3 ends. So yeah, not the most. I wrote some comments about it, and I said it was kind of slow when I was watching it. I was kind of bored at some points. I don't know why the conversation with Nunnally, like early on, was kind of The later part was good when he explains the motivations. But the other part, I was like, I could do without it. The fan service part, when I first watched it, I was like, oh, it's pretty good. Now I'm older, I'm like, not a fan. But I get it. People really like that part of the, I get why people like Code Geass. It's totally fine. But for me, I was like, I could do without the fan service. I think the setup was a bit kind of maybe a little contrived for it, but at the same time, I mean, Rivalz an idiot, so what do you expect? You can't expect that guy to do anything intelligent in the show. So I like the foreshadowing. I like that we get to spend time with Nunnally. We get to learn more about Lucia's motivations. There isn't much action in the show, which is fine. Not every episode has to be full of action. But overall, definitely not my favorite episode. I give it like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Definitely not the best so far. There's a bit of a dip too in quality. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the lack of action, or not entirely sure. But I will say in this episode that we do establish how the Geass works. Like there's more. We get to see the limits of it. Like it only works once on someone, and Lelouch has tested it on many different people at this point. He's still learning, of course, so I like that part. But there's just so many aspects where I just I could do without. Besides, this scene here, just in general. Overall wasn't the worst, but definitely not the best either. Again, did Shirley ditch her friends to and get Kallen to the student council? We also know, by the way, that after the student council event over, they have like their little nude party. So I guess Shirley ditched them completely. I don't know. Well, it's not that we're done, right? Well, no, because someone mentioned something important, which I forgot about. My bad. Is the picture dramas. We're going to go through those, right? Actually, let me read some comments first. Then we're going to go through picture dramas. We have approximately 2. We got 2 to go through. 0 and 3.25. There is also another one, which I don't have, unfortunately, where Lelouch does a simulator for the Nightmare frame. I don't have that one. But I have the images for the other 2, so we're going to go through those real quick. Okay. Comments, and then we move on to the picture dramas. StreamYards, what are you doing? I want to read it, not cover it. Thank you. Okay. So freaking annoying. Okay. Let's see. Okay, that's cool. Killing Clovis reminds me of Lyd Taylor's death. I don't know, because Taylor's death led to like Light's almost defeat early on, or not. Like it led to him. He gave himself away to L. A little different situation, considering one was bait and one wasn't. I guess it was like their first major kill, so we can go with that one. Code Geass is easily the top 5 anime for me. I think part of the reason it's not more recognized is that it's against legendary series like Gundam and Death Note and like Bleach, Naruto, One Piece, Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood. And of course, the modern stuff people like Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia, etc., etc. I mean, the way I see it is, Code Geass is a shonen, sort of, but it's not like a major shonen, so it never really reached the popularity. It also has a lot of things working against it, which we've discussed many times in these streams. So there is that as well. Maybe the mainstream is just not as appealing. Although My Hero Academia has a lot of fan service, doesn't it? So maybe that's not the case. I'm still relatively new compared to a lot of more known, more streaming titles. I mean, I guess. Wait, it's still relatively new compared to. We're talking about Code Geass? I mean, I guess so. I mean, um, when I talk about modern versus classic, and again, this will change probably in a couple of years, well, a couple of decades rather, but in my mind, anything before 2010 is a classic, anything after 2010 is a modern anime. So I consider Code Geass to be a classic because it came out before 2010. But eventually, that's going to change. I would say in probably maybe next decade, like in 2030, anything after 2020 is going to be before 2020 is going to be a classic. What a scary thought. Let's not go further with that idea. Okay, uh, moving on. On my other channel, I made a video which has Bleach music with Code Geass clips. Cool. I'll check it out later. Uh, episode 3 is the first episode where we get detail about who Kallen is as a character. It's also the first episode to give her a fan service scene. Coincidence? Unfortunately, no. Coincidence? I think not. No, it's not. One of Kallen's key things, attributes to her is the fan service. Why? I don't know why they always do this, but her fan service is definitely one of the key components of her character. And we definitely learned that here. The first two episodes of Kallen, no fan service. But they have to show you her boobs in the third episode. And don't worry, there's a lot more of that to come. Cornelia tells Lelouch that Schenizel transported Marianne's body. What episode was that? Was that when? Oh, was that when he used Geass on her? I don't remember that. That's why you're here, Gladiator King. I don't remember anything. Is that really what happened? He told. It must have been. One second. I'm gonna look up something real quick. I want to just 2 seconds here. I think it must have been in stage 25. Must have been stage 25. Because when else would they have talked about this? Let me see. Okay, Larry Marianne. Yeah. The Emperor orders Schenizel to transport the body out of there. You mean Mother's? Then that was in the coffin. Okay. Good call. But even then, though, which I don't really know what happened to. Okay, so Clovis must have been thinking the following: if he was involved with transporting the body, he must have known something. Okay, fair point. Complaint removed. Excellent job. I think Clovis saying Cornelia and Schenizel would know about Marianne was just a way of tricking the audience and thinking there was one that might be the one who destroyed Marianne. Well, I think being honest, because again, Cornelia did an investigation, so she would know what happened to her. Schenizel apparently transported the body, so he would know something. But you're right. I think it was to make it imply that Cornelia was the one that killed the parent, or not the parent, just Marianne. That's a good point. Something I dislike in episode 3 is that we go from an epic confrontation between Lelouch and Clovis to Millie being a creep towards Shirley. Yeah, there's definitely there's definitely it goes down a little bit in quality because of that. Now, there is a reason for this because they're trying to establish that Lelouch is dealing with two lives right now. He's dealing with his high school life and his life rebelling against Brittania. So I understand why they have to show these episodes. At the same time, though, I think they could have done a little better with it. But that's definitely a valid critique. Cornelia said Charles made Charles take the body. Yep, we discussed that. But it's good to mention it twice because I totally forgot about that for some reason. Rivalz, I swear to God, I'm about to play Death Note OP again. Go berserk. Yeah, Rivalz is just, yeah, he's so annoying. I heard the same reason Millie acts so creepy towards Shirley is that so that Lelouch pays more attention to her. However, she acts for attention towards Shirley even when Lelouch isn't around. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of images where she feels her up, which, as far as I know, is illegal. By the way, where'd you hear that idea that she acts flirty towards Shirley to get Lelouch to notice her? Because I'll say one thing, it doesn't work. Poor Rivalz. At least Tamaki was an asshole. Rivalz is just a kid. Well said. I'm about to go trigger mode and have a stroke because of Rivalz. Hey, he's so annoying. Rivalz annoying as Makumuka or Monokuma. I'm not sure who that is. I apologize. Rival's only purpose of the show is to give Lelouch a ride on his bike, but the rider could just give Lelouch his own bike. Yeah, probably. Yeah, why not? Remember the one episode where Rival trashed it and Lelouch had to go with him to the shop? I think it was an R2. Freaking moron. Buy/sell Ravel versus Tamaki. Yeah, it's a hard one. Ninja Psycho was probably not a thing until R2. I assume that Psycho had that ability way before this happened. I don't think you could just become a badass in 6 months. Maybe you can. I don't know. I assume that's not possible. Think and Play. Welcome. How you doing? How did they come to the conclusion about thinking Suzaku killing Clovis? How did they come to the conclusion? I think it was a frame setup. I don't think there was any logical conclusion. I think what happened was I think it was a frame setup between Jeremiah and Valletta, but probably mostly Jeremiah. Something I found odd about the first theme song of the show was that it shows up Prince Schenizel even though he's not a prominent character yet. Yeah, I mentioned that. I don't get it. Everyone else makes it Yuffie is shown with Shirley, C2, and Suzaku by the whole the numbers you stand by when you're going to jail. Makes sense because Yuffie will be shown in episode 5, but we don't see Schenizel till much later. Kind of weird, but I'm a bit tired. It's 11 p.m. here. 11 p.m. here. Where is here? Anyways. You can answer that later if you want. You don't have to actually answer that question. Man, I'm lost in the comments. It's so frustrating. Okay. Suzaku's fingerprints were on the gun that Clovis was shot with. That's right. Schenizel appeared so early in the series that his major role only in the end. He appeared so... Right, exactly. It's cool that you're going to review the picture dramas too. Yes, we'll get to that in a second. I'm pretty sure it was for fabricated. Suzaku hasn't even allowed to have a gun. Yeah, that's my point too. I thought it was fabricated. But why would Suzaku's fingerprints were on the gun? I don't remember if there was a reason. Again, I think it was fabricated. I think Suzaku could have, but I think it was obviously faked. The purebloods also kept Lloyd from testifying. They knew Suzaku was innocent. That's right. Very true. Or is that what they said, or they wouldn't accept it? One or the other. That's very true. Why would a murderer so smart that can kill a prince, leave his fingerprints on the gun? Well, Suzaku's not smart, obviously. That was the final episode of season 1. I think I read on TV shows Millie likes Lelouch, but she also knows that Shirley likes him, so she tried to get help. Yeah, I know that was the case. I just didn't know the whole being a pervert was part of that. I mean, from a writer's perspective, that Ninja Psycho wasn't a thing till R2. Okay, so maybe... I see what you're saying. They didn't have it planned out. Yeah, that's probably the case. It was probably a last-minute decision. But if they did, though, that would be a nice little, hint that she's actually a secret ninja. I never really understood why the writers decided for Millie to have a crush on Lelouch. It doesn't really add anything to her character or the story. No, it doesn't. The pervert stuff doesn't either. The only thing I like about Millie is later on when she graduates and does something more productive, which is being a news reporter. And that's actually her best role, I think, in the entire series. As a high school student council president, she's extremely obnoxious. She definitely takes, if there's any part of the story you don't like because of the rampant fan service or filler stuff, she is the reason for all that stuff. It's her character. Yeah, no one talks about it, I guess, because she's attractive looking. And I guess she is, so that makes sense. It seems like everyone except for Cornelia and Nina had a crush on Lelouch. Well, I hope Cornelia didn't. And Nina is, she plays for the other team, so obviously she doesn't either. Did everyone have a crush on Lelouch though? I guess so, but not at the same time. I don't think did Millie have an. I don't know about Millie having a crush on Lelouch. You know what? I already did a whole video about who Lelouch loved. Do I have to go and discuss if anyone loved Lelouch besides the main three? I don't discuss Kage. That's some weird lolly stuff. I don't want to go there. My goodness. Okay, so there's two picture dramas I have. There's 0-0. And by the way, Valletta didn't. No, Valletta only loved Ogi. And even then. Okay, the first picture drama we're going to go through is 0-0. This one's a really good one, by the way. And what I like about it is. I should have wrote this up here, but I'm going to write it now. Stage. Was it 0.0? I think it's called. Picture drama. I'm supposed to make banners. Is what it is. Okay. Oh, that's not how you spell picture. Don't show that. That's terrible. I can't spell either. I can't talk. I can't spell. What can I do? Okay. Here's the first one. This is a legendary picture drama. So this is when Lelouch first gets back, or when he's first exiled to Japan. So what happens here is he is he's taking care of Nunnally, and we learn the whole time that these guards, they don't really give a darn what happens to them. They're just making sure they're alive, but they don't actually help them out. He mentioned in a an audio drama how these guards don't actually care about them, so it's kind of interesting. And he doesn't want them helping out anyways because he's the only one who's going to protect Nunnally. So he takes her up the stairs. They explain different like shrines and how she was kind of confused how a religious leader could be in charge. He had to explain to her like the whole system at which they worked. When they get to the top, they meet Suzaku. And before they do that, Lelouch lies to Nunnally about what they're in because he want to make her feel better, which I think was a very nice thing to do. Sometimes lying is okay. Although, ironically enough, he told Nunnally he never lied to her, but he does here. It's kind of funny. Anyways, they're watching, and Suzaku comes in there, and he attacks Lelouch, and ultimately Nunnally tells him to stop, and he realized that she was like blind, so he didn't. He stopped attacking. Also, when they were talking, they were going back and forth about like Japan and Brittania, and they were mentioning how like if they didn't conquer, if Japan would surrender or something, the other nation would split it up between the EU and the Chinese Federation. They had a whole discussion about the politics behind the conflict with the two nations. For little kids, it was kind of a grown-up conversation. That's the first time that Suzaku met Lelouch. So that's this picture drama here. Now, what's kind of cool is it's a little on scope, but in the very first film of the recap films, not the old ones, the new ones, you have this scene here, which look at that. It's the same thing. They animated it, which was kind of cool. They had like, although Suzaku doesn't attack them, it's a little different how they framed this scene, but they animated it from the picture drama. So that was kind of cool. I like how they eventually got around to it. Yeah, that's the picture drama here. Nothing too special, although it does, again, bring up when Lelouch and Suzaku not only first arrived in Japan and their struggles together in a foreign land, being, tools for the Empire to use for diplomacy. And eventually, Nunnally was going to marry Genbu. Yep, that was the thing. Okay. If Nina had a crush on Lelouch, I'm walking off the face of the earth. I don't think she did. Enter Femme Lelouch. Oh God. LL. Sadly, the DVDs I have don't include the picture dramas. Neither does Netflix. What DVDs do you have? That doesn't make any sense. All the Code Geass DVDs have. Wait. Do you have Funimation? If you have Funimation, then yes. If you have the Code Geass Bandai version, or this is a Blu-ray, but if you have this, it has the picture dramas. But the Bandai version, I'll get this back. The Bandai version has the picture dramas. If you have that one, then you can have access to it. That's where I first watched it, and then I have the Blu-ray, so I watch it that way as well. So I'd recommend the Bandai if you can. The Funimation DVDs for Code Geass are a waste of money. Don't buy them. I have absolutely no idea why they sell it to begin with. You get almost, yeah, that explains it. You get almost nothing for it. I did a review discussing all the different ways you can buy Code Geass, the obviously the physical copy, and the DVDs from Funimation are the worst way possible. I don't know why, for the life of me, they couldn't put anything on those DVDs besides the episodes. It's come to the point now where if you don't buy the Blu-rays, you get nothing. So it's kind of sickening. Yeah, I get the Blu-ray. If you have a Blu-ray player, or find the Bandai DVDs. The Bandai, that's what you want. They're not too expensive, although they're just hard to find. That's the problem. Especially the special collections, which I think they stopped making it, so there's that. I have no idea if they're hard to get. I know one of the volumes is hard to find. There's like 3 collections. Anyways, did you hear that Code Geass will have a rebroadcast of a new OP? I did actually hear about that. The Funimation DVDs, actually, one more thing about that. When it comes out, I'll have to check it out and respond to it. We'll do a reaction video. Or I'll do a reaction video. You'll watch it if you want to. The Funimation DVDs have some extras, but like cast reviews, but not much else. No, Funimation's, they do some good, but a lot of bad. Sad G. Boonwell sounds. That's funny. Sad G. Boonwell sounds. Okay, let's get into the best ever picture drama in Code Geass history. Stage 3.25, I think it is. I got it. 2.5 picture drama. And by the way, I'm not being facetious here. This actually is a very good picture drama. And not because of the fan service, okay? Because there's some fan service ones that are complete crap. It's good because what you learn in the actual picture drama is very interesting. So much so that you may not believe this, I actually took notes on it many, many months ago when I was doing a different video. Or I was going to a different video but never got around to it. So, believe it or not, I actually really liked this picture drama. And again, it's not for the reasons you think. I got a little notion. I wrote a bunch of notes. I use so many different editors to keep track of my notes and stuff. I see if I can find it real quick. This was really good. Let me quick find. Picture. Well, you gotta have it somewhere. Come on now, picture. Oh, come on. Okay, found it. Excellent. All right, let's get started. So the context of this picture drama is the following. This is right after Kallen was dosed by the alcohol, and then she gets the new clothing, and eventually we found that Suzaku Kodarugi was the person who killed Clovis, or they said he was. Okay, so we're in the house. This is Code Geass After Hours edition, and if you get the reference, and they're all together in the bed talking. There's a lot of nudity in this episode. Hopefully, I don't get in trouble for showing a lot of nudity, but whatever. There's no nipples, so it's okay. So they're talking in the bath about different things. Specifically, Kallen wants to know why they asked her to be here among other people. And the reason why they asked Kallen to be here is because they want to have skin to skin or in the flesh. In the flesh is what she said. That's why they were meeting here. So that's the context behind the scene here. And what's interesting, we learned about a bunch of stuff. For example, they were explaining about cosplay, like Millie talked about cosplay, and apparently Kallen knows what that is. So that's kind of interesting. They were discussed how Lelouch. So they mentioned, what was it here? That's the flesh to the flesh. Yeah, she says here, Shirley wouldn't like anyone else wearing Kallen or Lelouch's clothing. That's why she was upset there. Kallen was confused why Lelouch is so like upset the fact that Suzaku was why he why the name Suzaku bother him so much. And also, of course, they talk about how the girl who loves, or the girl Lelouch loves the most, is Nunnally. Oh, I've gone way ahead here. Okay, we'll stick to this part here. Okay, so the context was that Lelouch loves Nunnally more than anyone else, and Colin didn't understand this. So they explained it, and I mentioned early on, like a different video, like if Colin knew Nunnally was that important to Lelouch, she never really seemed to show it much. Later on, when they had like certain conflicts where Nunnally should have been the person of interest over her own. But then again, it doesn't matter because if it was or wasn't, I mean, Colin has a right for her own features to be, I guess, achieved. If you're confused what I'm talking about, there's an episode in R2 Turn 7 where Colin was upset about Lelouch to go and, fulfill his role as Zero. And she didn't seem to care much about Nunnally. Although someone told me that she did, but I never quite got that. Anyways, they're talking about body proportions. How? Oh, that's right. Millie says here that Shirley's boobs are so big they should pop out in Lelouch's face. But then Shirley says, "Yeah, but those are the best body." And then Millie's like, "Do I?" And they're like, "Yeah, she does." Millie has the best body in Code Geass, at least the boobs wise. Although Colin, I think, could give her a run for her money. Everyone's so scared, by the way. It's like it kind of reminds me of okay, this is a random reference, but in Death Note Abridged, there's a line where a guy says, "Chief, the mustache, it's scaring me." And he's like, "You have a right to be afraid. My mustache would stand a chance against his." So the context is the same here. They're like, "Shirley, yes, Colin. Millie's boobs, they scared me. You're right to be afraid. Mine wouldn't stand a chance against his." Obviously, they're not discussing that at all, but it's kind of funny. And then they mention how like if Nina's wearing glasses, she's actually quite attractive looking, which they don't show you because it's again a picture drama. But Millie gropes her when she's which is really disgusting because Millie grabs everyone in the show apparently. Then we get some good discussion. They mentioned how Millie and Nina's grandparents knew each other and worked together as the company. I believe Millie's grandfather owned it, and Nina's grandfather simply worked under him. They messed up because apparently the grandfather he partied too much. Apparently, now what's interesting was that Colin was aware of the nightmare frame that Millie's grandfather worked on, which was the first. It was called the Granny Maid, I think, and it was the first nightmare frame or one of the first ones. It got scrapped because of reasons, but Colin seemed to know a lot about it, but she had to play it off like she didn't because she gave away her cover. She's trying to act like an invalid and doesn't know this stuff, but she's like, "Oh, really? Nightmare frames?" Because Colin's kind of like a junkie for that stuff. So I thought that was interesting. It also explains why Cecile and Lloyd only cared about machines, not people. Well, mostly Lloyd. I'm not sure why I said Cecile. The company went bankrupt. Nightmare frames would never went into production other than the one that Marianne uses. Okay. And then what else did I say here? Colin can get. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then what happens is they talk about the background of their companies and how Nina apologized for her grandfather, which was really stupid because it wasn't Nina's grandfather's fault. It was what's it called? It was Millie's grandfather's fault. So that's why she shouldn't get blamed for it. And then we get more of Millie's close up because why not? Now they talk about cosplay here, and they want to get Colin's measurements, and Colin's like, "Yeah, I don't really want you to do that." So we get this epic scene. It's most infamous in Code Geass, or one of the most infamous, of Shirley holding down Colin for the measurement, and her hair. Thank God for her hair and this piece of cloth, because otherwise you would see literally everything. Colin then screams, and the episode simply ends. Now, I want to point out one key plot element about this. This is actually very important stuff. Why this nude scene is actually secretly important. And I'm going to reference it, by the way, in another video I'm going to be doing about Shirley in reference to the alternate universe that should be coming out this week. We'll see. Anyhow, Colin is very strong, right? We know she's strong. There's like scenes of her lifting weights. I can pull up one real quick. It's towards the end of the show. Very end of the show. Give me a second. Meanwhile, enjoy the view, I guess. Here, I'll make it bigger. Okay. Let's see. So the very end of the show, I think I have the image. Do. Yeah, here it is. Okay. So this shows that this is in Kallen's house, by the way, or the apartment she now lives with her mother. She has like a barbell with some weights and some dumbbells and those hand grips. So she's not a weakling by any stretch of imagination, and she's been working on her whole life. There's even a scene also in our picture drama where she's again lifting weights. So if Shirley's able to hold Kallen down like this, then that means that Shirley's pretty strong. Now, granted, Kallen is pretending to be a weak girl, although Millie says, like, for someone who looks like you, I didn't think you'd be that sickly. You look pretty good. So Shirley's holding down Kallen in place, and Kallen might be pretending, but deep down she's very uncomfortable here and doesn't want them to do this to her. So I can conclude that if Shirley's able to hold down Kallen, she's probably strong enough to do other things, like, I don't know, carry a body, hint, hint, or maybe pick up Valletta and throw her into the river, hint, hint. The point I make is that you actually get a lot out of this picture drama besides the nudity. They actually hid a lot of important information behind boobs, which is, yeah, it's kind of funny. I also like how, I mentioned this also, I like how Colin's actually coughing the voice actress to make it more convincing, which is good. And then Kallen also mentioned she can't do the bus size measuring thing the next day because she has to meet with the Tokyo Tower. That's why they do it at this current part. Yeah. Now let's see. So here's like just the takeaways from this. We learn about Millie and Nina's relationship and their past, which is important about the Ashford and her family. We get insights into the Nightmare Frame history, specifically with the Granny Maid and how Millie's grandfather's company went under. The information explains several parts in R1, Stage 20, 14, and 3. And most of you don't directly learn, which is good because we want more information about how the Nightmare Frames came to be and their family history. This is a good picture drama because it just gives you so much backstory and insights. That's a good thing. I know people might say, I watch for plot, but I do. In this case, definitely the plot. You get so much information about the backstory with these characters. There are other picture dramas which we'll go through later on, which were god awful and didn't give you anything even remotely as valuable as this beautiful scene. Okay. All right. I'm being a little obnoxious. I apologize. But still, though, Shirley's pretty strong to hold down Kallen. I don't care what the context is here. All right. Let's go through some comments. Or probably ended it with that because I've already gone through technically now 5 episodes. Again, I kind of forgot about the picture dramas initially. As far as I remember, it also had the flow music the same band as the first and last Code Geass OP, as well as other famous anime OP. That's cool. Shirley's not seeing the water. Yeah, you can basically see everything. I didn't want to spend too much time on it, but Shirley's the only character in this picture drama where you basically see everything. Like right here, I mean, it's pretty bad. They're not even trying. At least everyone else are trying. With Shirley, they're not even trying. Oh yeah, you can see Kallen's butt crack, but I guess that's acceptable nudity nowadays. I'm really curious to know if this is going to get flagged for nudity, even though they don't show you the most naughty bits. I've also seen people on YouTube also show this, what's it called, this image, and no one seems to care. I assume they weren't flagged. I could be completely wrong, though. Kallen just took a shower, yet Millie insisted that she take a bath. At least Kallen will be extra clean. Yeah. I thought Cornelia had the best female figure. See, that's where you're wrong. It's Cecile. And then Cornelia. Or in some cases, C2. But Cornelia is pretty up there, though. I think Millie has the largest bust. There was some kind of survey done, like some kind of poll in the Code Geass fandom. I believe either the creators confirmed this, but I believe Millie has the largest bust. There's measurements on the Wikia page. They could be completely full of crap, though. They probably are. Granny Maid, yeah, that's what it was called. The picture drama isn't bad, but I find the ending with Shirley holding Kallen weird. Shirley doesn't be like the type of character that would do invade Kallen's privacy. I thought you were going to say Shirley's not the type of character to like touch women like that, but I don't know. It's a good point. Shirley isn't like that kind of person, but they had to show that infamous image. That's why they did it. It's a fair point though. Also, Shirley seems like the type of character that wouldn't be too shy to be in the flesh scenario. That wouldn't be too shy. I guess. Oh, would be too shy. Yeah, probably. Yeah, he's doing flagging swimsuits now. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Meanwhile, on Twitch, the purple sites. Speaking of Twitch, I'm gonna have an account soon made for that because I need to use it for gaming when I play Genesis Code. Although I heard if you don't, you can do it without gaming as well. So it really depends on what you're doing, I guess. Yeah, Layla and Alderin are both very attractive looking. Most of the girls in Code Geass are attractive looking, except for Nina and like, yeah, I mean, Code Geass is known for having really attractive women. There's like a random doctor. I don't want to spoil yet, but there's a random doctor in a certain episode. I'm like, even she's a 10. She's just some random character, doing like nothing. She helps like Suzaku with his anxiety problems, I think. But yeah, I mean, Clamp always makes their characters look extremely good looking. Legendary anime fan too. Welcome. A little late, my friend. We already went through like everything. Lelouch has the best male figure. No, he doesn't. Gino does. Or Suzaku. Lelouch is skin and bones, man. He can't. I mean, the character has good attributes, but he is not athletic. I totally disagree with that. He might have a nice face. That's about it, though. Kallen is my favorite waifu. Well, okay. She ain't mine, though. That would go to Cecile. Not that I have a waifu, but if I had to pick, that would be the one. Okay, how are we doing on time? Ugh, it's late. Okay. Late for me. Depends on your schedule. It depends where you live. Someone said it was late. It was 11 o'clock or something. So, there you go. Sure, he's handsome to all the girls. He does okay. Schenizel has the best figure of all the villains. Schenizel? Yeah, there aren't many two villains to compare to. Except Shin Hyuga. He might have a run for his money because Shin Hyuga's in pretty good shape. He's tall and thick. Not Bartley thick, actually thick. Bartley is too thick. Way too thick. But yeah, we're out of time. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna end it here. We've already done like what 2 hours and 40 minutes. Yeah, so next week we're going to do 4, 5, and 6, and probably some other picture dramas as well. And then once the game comes out, I'll start looking into that. Again, this week I'm going to try to get the Shirley video discussion about her in the alternate universe since you guys requested that video. I filmed it today. I have to do some editing. I hate editing. But it's what it is. Last comment. Darlton is pretty buff. Yeah, but he's 43, though. He's old. So he don't count. Yeah, thanks guys for tuning in. And I will see you again next week. Have a good week. And yeah, be in touch. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.